All right, today's guest, the great Kent McGowen, former Texas police officer, wrongfully convicted and spent 19 years in prison for a murder in the execution of a warrant, but wrongfully convicted, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. And before we get started, special shout out to my presenting sponsor, Roka, the greatest sunglasses under the sun. And I've got a pair of, for a police officer, I've got the best aviator sunglasses for you, Kent. You put those on, you're going to look like your old self in the patrol car.
Mandatory aviator shorts.
But let's get into it. So where were you a police officer?
When I got out of the Air Force, I worked for the Houston Police Department first for a few years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
and
big
then,
city?
Yeah, I was a big city. So I got a taste of a bit of all of it.
All right.
Military police. Then when I was waiting to get on with Houston PD, it takes about a year for the application. My dad had a ranch outside of Harris County, next ranch, about an hour out of Houston. So I got the rural policing. I was a deputy out there. I had no idea what I was doing. I had no idea what I was doing. Back then, you didn't even have to go to a police academy for a full year. You could work as a police officer in Texas back then. Then you had 365 days to start at academy. So I was out there in the extreme rural area. It was crazy.
No training at all. So you just rock up, they give you a uniform, a gun. I'm assuming they qualify you on the gun at the very least.
Yeah, that's
But I guess in Texas, people were shooting guns when they had on diapers.
Yeah, it was literally, I'd get calls. I'd go down to, old man Jackson's gate, not the first one, the second gate, past the goats, take a left at the donkey, go over the bridge, and there's a burglary down there. I'd get calls like that. We had no maps, nothing.
I always think it's funny when there's burglaries or any kind of crime like that in a small town like in Texas, and even where I live here in Nashville. I'm always like, do the criminals realize everyone here has guns? Like I grew up in Boston, then lived in LA for 5 years. I was in New York for 20 years. No one had guns. Like you can't get a concealed carry gun permit in New York City. Very few people. But when I moved here, I'm like, Jesus, everyone has an arsenal of guns. You'd have to be crazy to break into someone's house, but they still do it. Matter of fact, when I got a gun myself, I went into the Glock store and I was like, hey, I want to buy this gun. I don't really know much about it. I had qualified on a .357 revolver when I worked at the prison, but it was very, very brief. And so they showed me how to use it. And they're like, how far do you want us to set up the target? I said, I don't know. How far am I to the door? 5-10 feet? That's close enough. As long as I can shoot someone in my house, that's all I care about. I'm not taking it outside. But point is, when I worked in the prison as well, I got 4 hours of classroom training, and then we walked right into like a men's prison. I was 18 years old, and I was like, holy shit. But being a cop, like you have to be familiar with certain laws. I mean, you're pulling people over. Yeah. Like it must have been crazy to have a young kid policing with no experience.
Yeah. The sheriff, when my dad bought his ranch out there, the sheriff, he was a retired Houston PD sergeant.
Yeah.
And Ronnie Sitton, he was a really good guy. He came out there to introduce himself, and he asked me. I said, I was military in the Air Force. Went from active duty. At this point, I was serving in the Air National Guard. And then he goes, hey, you want to be a deputy when you're waiting? It's going to take a year to get your application. All right. So it was literally, man, go and do your thing. Yeah.
What police force were you on when the shooting went down?
Yeah, when I finally got on Houston, I started doing Houston PD for a number of years. And I left Houston to complete college and was hopefully trying to go into law school, actually. Okay. Was my main goal.
And then plenty of familiarity with the law now, I'm sure.
I'm quite familiar with the law. Yeah, it's from both sides.
This story, by the way, is just so fucking crazy. Like, if you're watching at home, if you're driving, buckle your seatbelt. If you're watching or listening from home, tighten up your chin strap. This is a crazy story.
Yeah, that it is. Anyway, I went to because Houston PD didn't have like a leave of absence. Yeah. A lot of officers, they just got burnt out and said, man, I got to go, dude.
Yeah.
A year later, I kind of missed a job, they go back. I mean, in Houston, you just do that. But I went and picked up a reserve commission is what I was going to at the Harris County Sheriff's Office in Houston. Ironically enough, the background investigator was a police officer in another agency where my brother served 31 years as an officer there. He called me and goes, hey, is your brother so-and-so in that other agency? I said, yeah. Then he goes, we need some instructors with some experience. Why don't you come on as an instructor? And I was like, man. So, I went to talk to my wife. She's like, don't do it. You're going to get sucked right back into it. Man, I love the job. Yeah. I absolutely. That's what I did,
Yeah.
And then I did it anyway. I should have listened to her.
So Harris County, that's where
Harris County Sheriff's Department, where the shooting occurred. Yeah, I worked there.
And in Texas, the sheriff. Apologies for if this seems like a stupid question, but in where I grew up in Boston, there were city cops, and then there were state cops. But in Texas, do they have like town, sheriff, and rangers? What's the breakdown?
In Texas, you have the municipalities. Like in Harris County, there's many towns. Let's say Houston. You have Houston's the city, where the Houston PD, that's where they patrol.
Okay.
Then everything outside the incorporated city limits, but still in Harris County, that's the sheriff's jurisdiction.
Okay.
The sheriff has jurisdiction entire county.
Okay.
But that's really basically patrol is outside the main municipality police department.
Okay. Yeah. So it's just like you're just like a police officer just over a whole county.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, in Texas, there's all peace officers. Texas Rangers, DPS, Constable, game warden, they're all peace officers.
They love law enforcement in Texas.
Yeah, there's a lot of,
Did you wear a cowboy hat?
Actually, the sheriff's department issued us a summer hat and a winter hat. Yeah, Stetson hats. Yeah,
I don't know if I ever wore it. I love a good costume.
It's hard to chase somebody wearing a cowboy hat. It's hard to get a patrol car fast.
It's intimidating though when I think about a Texas Ranger getting out with the big ass cowboy hat. I'm like, hey, how you doing, son?
Yeah, we'll get to that. The Texas Rangers got involved in my case after.
Good point. So before we get to that, I just want to understand the hierarchy of police officers. So how does a Texas Ranger rank to a sheriff? In Texas, like what?
Yeah, Texas Rangers. They're in Texas. The state police are called DPS, Department of Public Safety, Highway Patrol, and you have to be a highway patrolman DPS for a number of years, and your ratings, your ranking, pretty high. Yeah, that's very high standards to be a Texas Ranger. Okay, the Texas Rangers, they're just a division of the state police. Okay, a very elite investigative division of the state police in Texas.
So primarily detectives?
Correct. Yeah, they have extensive investigative, training and background.
We might as well jump right into it. Like, what happens? How does the whole incident kick off?
Yeah, and oddly enough, just doing my routine duties. Yep. I stopped a young character on a traffic stop. Okay. And then a couple of weeks later, I stopped him on another traffic stop, running a stop sign right in front of him.
Young kid.
Well, he's 19.
19.
In Texas, at 17, you're an adult in Texas.
19 is a kid, though, for us. I mean, he's legally an adult, but you and I see a 19-year-old kid, I'm like, oh, there's kids over there.
Well, mentally, he's about 11.
Yeah, of course. That's what I mean. He's closer to 11 than he is to 30. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And during this time period, we had a number of drive-by shootings, automatic weapons show up in a district. We're in District 1, which is northwest part of Harris County quadrant. Okay. And then on a second traffic stop, it was like 2 in. I was at a dead end talking to this guy. And he said, hey, you know anything about, he goes, you've heard about these guns running around out here, right? And I said, yeah. And I said, what do you know about them? It was very suspect that this guy would bring this up because about maybe 10 days or 2 weeks prior to this, I had a disturbance with a bunch of teenagers. And they started telling me that about the weapons. And it was a guy named Keith Skura who drove a red Beretta. And this was not the guy who wanted to be my informant. His name was Michael Schaefer.
The informant is Michael Schaefer?
Schaefer's the informant.
So this is the kid you're talking to at 2 a.m. and he's saying, hey, you hear about these things? He's just an informant. He's just like, can't wait to tell him.
Yeah, and that was a big issue that was brought up. It wasn't like I said, hey, you got something for me, I'll cut you loose.
That's what I mean.
I didn't even want the guy a ticket. Nothing.
Why does this guy want to be the stool pigeon?
Good question. And we'll get to that when we found out recently. Okay. And that I was suspected at the beginning. Why would he just start telling me this?
Of course.
Of course I'm going to listen to it, right?
Already I'm like, red flag.
Yeah. Me too.
Telling on his friend.
But back then we had beepers, no cell phones. Yeah. So I had my business card. I wrote my beeper number and I said, well, hey, if something happens, give me a holler. And he told me what was going on was there were some rural gang members out of Houston came out into Harris County and they were recruiting these young guys, 16, 17, 18, 19-year-old just thug wannabes. They're recruiting them to commit burglaries on some nice residential areas. And then the gangbangers out of Houston, all they wanted was the rifles, semi-automatic rifles. They're converting them to fully automatic, putting the sound suppressors on them and lasers, which was a big deal back then. And those are showing up on the street. So, of course, this guy told me this, he got my attention. So I immediately...
By the way, how fucking crazy that you're like, hey, go in that house and rob it. They got guns in there. Like, yeah, they got guns. What if someone shoots me with one of them?
When you were talking about that earlier, and it is not uncommon at all for burglars to get shot and killed or home invaders in Houston. Happens all the time. Yeah. Everybody has guns. Yeah, in Texas, everybody has guns.
Not only accepted, but encouraged if you shoot someone breaking into your house, right?
Yeah, it's pretty much a green light.
Yeah, okay. So it just seems so, like I said, it always seems crazy to me that someone will break into a house where the people probably have a gun.
Yeah.
But
almost everybody has more than one.
I always say no one in prison that's in there for any kind of robbery was robbing houses because they were sober. 90% of them are robbing because they're whacked out on heroin or meth and their brain isn't working because it doesn't make any sense to rob a bank or a house full of guns. Yeah. That usually ends poorly.
Very poorly. Very poorly.
Nevertheless, all right.
Happens all the time.
By the way, what kind of gangs are these? Like, are these like black gangs, white gangs, Spanish?
Yeah, mostly these are black gangs out of north part of Houston.
Okay.
An area. It was called Greens. It was called Greens Point. There was Greens Point Mall, is a big mall. It didn't last long until it was taken over. Okay. It was taken over by the thugs. All the policemen just called it Guns Point Mall.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like Crips, Bloods, the traditional type of gangs.
Right.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah. Correct.
Look, I wear a lot of gear. Most of it I don't talk about. Roka, however, I will talk about. And here's why. I don't put anything on my face that can't keep up with me. On a run, out in the sun all day. If it slips, if it fogs, if I have to think about it, it's gone. Roka doesn't slip. They build performance eyewear, ultralight titanium frames, lenses that are sharp, polarized, dialed in. And the no-slip grip locks in hotter the more you sweat. That's not a lifestyle brand pretending to be performance. That's the real thing. And I've got several. This is my running pair. These I wear all the time. And at night, I'm in their wind-down glasses. Off screens, actually wind down, actually sleep. My good friend Andrew Huberman designed these with Roka, so you know they're good. I also wear prescription glasses like the ones you see me wearing now. And Roka can do that for you too. These are premium and give you incredible value at the same time. If you're looking for a pair of cheap sunglasses that you can scratch up and don't care if you leave them behind, Roka is definitely not for you. However, if you care about performance, what you put on your face, and quality, premium products, Roka's the perfect pair. That's my test for anything. Do I actually reach for it? I reach for these. Roka's whole thing is unlocking human potential, equipping the people who refuse to settle for good enough. That's the other side of hard. That's this whole show. So if you want eyewear that performs as hard as you do, go to Roka.com and use code RIDEOUT for 20% off. Again, that's code RIDEOUT for 20% off at Roka.com. Roka, get after it. Boom.
Anyway, on the second traffic stop, I give the guy my business card. And immediately I contacted, I went and met my lieutenant. I had a great lieutenant, Jay Coons, Marine. Now he's, PhD, college professor, straight by the book. This guy was a good guy. And in between us, we had a sergeant, and nobody liked the sergeant, Dave Ruggiero. Nobody cared for him. And not to waste time with the ridiculous stories of the cowardly things I saw that man do, which plays a big part in this. But I despise that guy. Everybody out there despises him. Nobody trusted him. So, being military and law enforcement, basically my whole career, if you will, strictly stuck to the chain of command.
Yeah.
Don't jump the chain of command. But I had no respect for this guy at all, Sergeant Ruggiero. So when I went to my lieutenant, he said, hey, keep me apprised of what's going on. So maybe 2 weeks later, my beeper goes off. It's Michael Schaefer, the informant. He said, hey, this little clique that I run with, they burglarized the house last night, and they've got a stolen gun they're trying to sell. I said, all right, well, stay right there. I'll get back with you. And I called Lieutenant Coons and ran down to him. He said, hey, come in plain clothes tomorrow, set it up, and do a buy bust on the gun, and we'll get these guys. Because we knew of all these other shootings going on, And Lieutenant Coons, actually being who he was a policeman's policeman. He, as a lieutenant, he stayed on the street all night. So he knew about all these shootings. He attended a number of them, on the calls that were dropping on them. Anyway, we set up the deal. We meet in a parking lot, and my informant was in his vehicle, and then a red Mustang pulled up, and then a gray, it was a Camaro or Fiero, it was something like that, Firebird, what have you, or two girls in it. Well, I see my informant get out with the buy money, and I see him trade the pistol for the buy money, that went down, and he did a bus signal, so we come take everybody down. You always take down the informant, of course. Yeah.
I still can't figure out why the informant is doing this. Like, why would you put yourself...
Yeah, we'll get to that. That's a shocking element of this. A very shocking element we found out.
And they sent two girls to sell the gun.
No, these two girls, they were just their girlfriends or whatever.
But the guys were in the car as well.
Yeah, the two guys in the red Mustang.
2 guys and 2 girls.
Yeah, guys in the red Mustang, this guy lied to us the whole time. He was actually Keith Skura, the target of this investigation. He's, to this very day, the DA's office is hiding him. Because if we would have got to him, I'd have never got indicted, and none of this would have happened. But I know a year after I get indicted, we have an offense report where he had some stolen guns, driving a red Beretta, broke in a guy's house, shot at him, they got in a fight, and he got arrested. And of course, all those charges disappeared on this guy also. The burglary, everything that happened that night, transferring the stolen firearm, all the charges just disappeared.
Really?
Yeah. The DA's office was more intent on getting me than any actual bad guys. So they, we take everybody down. The two girls are hysterical. Hey, what do you know these guys? We just met them. So I say, hey man, you need to hang out with better people. These guys are turds. They're gonna get you in trouble. So let these girls go. Well, they run down to a local steak restaurant and get Susan White, the suspect I wound up shooting 48 hours later, and her boyfriend, Ray Valentine. Mind you that both of them were married at this time, not to each other. Susan White was married to a real character, and I don't know who this Ray Valentine was married to. But two girls wanted to get them. And at the scene that we had cuffed was Michael Schaefer, my informant. The guy we found out many years later was actually Keith Scurro, the target of the investigation. And it was a little turd named Jason Aguilar. That was Susan White's son. And
so the son is kind of just like an afterthought here. He's not the main player.
I never knew that kid. And there was all the stuff that I've been harassing him for months and months, and just trying to get to his mom because she wouldn't date me and all that. Yeah, we'll get to this.
And all the players here are that we're talking about, everyone's black, white?
They're all white, yeah.
So they were white kids trying to join this black gang?
Well, these black...
Or unaffiliated with the...
Yeah, these real gang members came up here. And these are just some,
like wannabe gangsters.
Wannabes, that's what I'm trying for.
Okay,
and some real gang members came in and, hey, we'll trade you whatever they're doing.
Yeah.
Whatever
I'm just trying to get an idea, like if there was some underlying racial tension, but if everyone involved is white, cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And then,
so they call the mom and the boyfriend, and they're both married to different people. Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, they show up, and I just call her the suspect.
Yeah.
I don't even say her name. Right. Her name was Susan White, but that's all she was to me, as a felony suspect.
Yeah.
Well, she shows up at the scene. She goes to one patrol car, and she's hollering something. And I'm sitting there. I had her son in a patrol car. I was sitting next to. I squatted down, getting information on a record slip to tow his car. I look over at my partner, Scott Genovese. I said, "Man, there's somebody's pissed off parents." I mean, you tell her the woman was irate. She was highly inebriated, and this is like 1:30 on a Saturday night, Sunday morning. And she goes to one patrol car, and all these years, we never knew how she knew my name until about 3 months ago. We recovered at least 100,000 pages of documents that had been withheld from us all these years. There's an offense report there by an officer that I remember. His name was Willis. He went up that car, and she was screaming and hollering, "This is a effing setup." My little boy, who was a lifelong criminal at this point.
Who brings their mom to an arrest?
Yeah, every time we got to trial, they brought him in shackles because he's been in Angola prison every time I've seen him.
Shit, Angola.
But she goes up to the patrol car. It's all this Deputy Willis. "This is an effing setup." He said, "Hey, this isn't my scene. This is Deputy McGowen's scene. 34 years ago, this happened. We don't find out until about 3 months ago. I'm going through some of these documents. There's this offense report this Deputy Willis wrote. That's how that woman knew my name 48 hours before I shot her." Okay. When he says Deputy McGowen, well, there's five other deputies standing there. She goes over to them, and Tommy, this time I was 27, and I was 5'11", 185. She went to Tommy Welch. He was like probably 60 years old, 6'4", 300 pounds, big thick glasses, nothing like me. And she's calling him McGowen. He goes, I'm not deputy. That's Deputy McGowen. Well, she goes over to Chris Gush, a tall, skinny, redheaded guy, green eyes, looked nothing like me. And she went to a couple other deputies, and they're finding, that's McGowen. So I'm watching all this stuff, right?
By the way, if from the cops I know, if some woman comes down screaming and yelling, "You got the son on a gun bust," why doesn't someone just bundle her and put her in the thing for interfering with a fucking crime scene?
Hindsight.
Like, get out of here.
Exactly.
Instead, your colleagues are like, "That's McGowan. That's McGowan."
Exactly.
Like, cut the bullshit and be professional and shut this right down.
Roger that. Exactly.
We got a friggin' violent offender here with a gun. Like, get out of here before you're arrested.
Well, she came
running around on a crime scene.
Yeah, when she finally comes over to Deputy Scott Genovese and me, she was calling Genovese. He was way taller and slender than me. And Gino goes, that's McGowan. I stood up. I said, "Who are you?"
Yeah.
"Well, that's my son. This is a fucking setup." Clearly inebriated she was.
Yeah.
I said, "Look here, you need to get your ass out of here.
Yeah.
Or I'm gonna arrest you for interfering.
Yeah.
You get your ass out of here." The guy she was with was something else, man.
Yeah.
I'll never forget this guy. He had thinning black hair, combed straight back. He's straight out of a Joe Pesci movie out of the 80s.
I'm thinking of the guy from Casino that was fooling around with the main character.
Yeah, I'll never forget that he had like a black silk suit, and he had a red shirt, like a blood red shirt with a big disco collar on it, and he had a gold chain with those Italian love horns. I forget this. I never forget that. Like that dude walked up to me today.
And what'd the woman look like? Is she good looking? She's thin. Describe her.
I've been admonished about speaking negatively, so I'll speak. I'll speak factually.
Just describe her.
She was a extremely thin white female with bleach blonde hair, and
so looking like a meth head. Rotted teeth.
She had rotted teeth. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, she had severe drug and alcohol and criminal issues her entire life.
Got it.
And I've read stuff like in her obituary said she was a Navy officer. That's negative. We got all this stuff.
Yeah.
All this stuff we recovered 3 years ago. She was in the Navy. She made it through basic training. And then all this about her being a nurse and all that, an officer.
Yeah.
No, she went through basic training. And she was getting on a military aircraft to go somewhere to go to dental hygienist school.
Okay.
She got caught with a bunch of Quaaludes. So she was pretty much, dismissed from the Navy.
All right.
Then she did get a nurse's license in Louisiana a number of years later, like a little LVN type thing. Well, that lasted 2 weeks until she gets a job at a doctor's office, and she gets caught writing her own DEA pad, writing her own scripts.
Seems like very on brand for what I'm imagining.
Yeah, rather than that, Brenda. And she, I'm not talking negative. This is just factually because this plays into it.
Yeah.
And I'm not defending this woman for anything. Yeah. Absolutely not.
Yeah.
But the system failed this woman apparently her entire life, or absolutely her entire life. In and out of mental institutions, voluntarily, involuntary, escape from mental institutions. And her go-to, in one particular event, she escaped from a mental institution. She caught a cab, didn't make it far. The police pull them over. And her go-to, she said, well, she escaped because the female doctor tried to rape her. And then she said, well, the cab driver tried to rape me. That was her go-to, which when I run into her, these crazy, allegations. That was her go-to.
Okay. All right. So I've got the scene painted.
You see where it's going.
Yeah. Okay.
You see where it's going. So anyway, she's on the scene. Her boyfriend, he had some organized crime ties. He knew not to screw with us. So he snatched her up, goes and puts her in his car. She bails out like 5 minutes later. And like the first cell phones they first came out with, the big brick ones, the big black rubber antenna.
Yep.
She bails out with that. Like this is 1:30 in the morning on a like Saturday night, Sunday morning. She comes running up to me. She goes, I have Captain Harper on the phone. He wants to talk to you, which is C.J. Harper, Clyde James Harper. I knew him, but he wasn't in my chain of command. And he was a previous commander out in this District 1. And we'll get to that where his 10-year illicit affair was. But she knew this captain well enough, even though he denied it at the time, that she had his private phone number when he's at home with his wife at 1:30 in the morning, that she felt comfortable calling him.
Holy cow.
So, yeah, she's hollering at me, Captain Harper wants to talk to you. And I said, hey, look, he's not my chain of command. He has my beeper number. He can call me tomorrow. I'll tell him what's going on. You get your ass out of here.
Yeah.
So her boyfriend grabs her, puts her in the town car. I'll never forget this. Excuse me. I'll never forget this. She was, they were pulling out, and the driver's side was toward me. She was moving, perpendicular. I remember she leans over her boyfriend and her paramour and points at me. She said, I'm going to get you, you son of a bitch. Man, she did. She destroyed my life, my family, my career, my future, and a lot of other people.
Jesus.
And so we hook and book everybody, take them to jail, and then I'm doing the paperwork, sitting across the desk from my lieutenant.
But you're thinking nothing of this. You're like some fucking loudmouth. I arrested this hooligan. It's all good. Okay.
All the time. You arrest somebody, and excuse me, some teenagers, their parents raise them. I thought nothing of it. Well, I'm at this desk doing the paperwork. Lieutenant Coon's sitting across from me, and we're just shooting the bull doing paperwork. The phone rings. He answers it, and he's like, "Okay, I'll take care of it." I think nothing of it. He hangs up, rings again, and he's like making goofy faces at me, like hangs up. I said, "What? Who is that?" He said, "It was that woman from out there at the scene." I said, "What's she calling about?" Well, she was telling him that out at the scene, I was asking her if she was divorced yet. I had no knowledge of this woman at this point. I asked her if she was divorced yet, and telling her she had shapely legs, as she said, the exact verbiage. And we were out there. There's a lot of witnesses, there's a lot of record drivers, none else said, none of it. And then that's a very valid point at the scene. If I'd have been harassing her, she would have known who I was. This 48 hours for the shooting.
Of course.
I was calling these other deputies McGowen.
Yeah.
So anyway, I go back, do my thing, put the guys in jail, whatever. She comes back to the substation like 4 o'clock in the morning.
Is the kid being a problem, or is he just taking the pinch?
Total asshole. Good? Yeah.
He's just a wise guy, but
this
he knows he's
turd,
caught.
Man. He's a turd.
Okay.
No good. Tried to burn down the neighbor's house. When he's like 14, he had a stolen .45 automatic.
Oh, my God.
He literally rode the little yellow bus to school, literally. Or one day he decides not to go, he don't want to go to school.
Yeah.
So he tells the bus driver to let him out. And he says, hey, man, I can't let you out. So he pulls a stolen .45 when he's, I think, 14.
Jesus Christ. All
yeah.
right. So,
but nonetheless.
Go ahead.
So anyway, we get down there. She comes down there. They admonish her. Lieutenant Coon said, you need to get out and sober up. So I had a call like 4 o'clock. That was like Saturday night, early Sunday morning. I worked night shift. I was around 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. Like 4 o'clock Sunday afternoon, my beeper's blowing up, 911, 911. And then we had an informant or whatever, we'd like give them a code. Like if you'd be number 57. Yep. If I got a number and it said 57, I knew it was you calling me. So I'm like, what the hell? So I call and said, what's the problem, man? He goes, hey, man, a guy pulled up with a gun, called me a snitch last night. That was Susan White. Man, she's making threats. She's calling my family. Telling, don't you watch TV? Snitches get killed. Don't you watch what happens, in Houston and all this
stuff. There was
stuff.
part of me that wants to say, like, yeah, no shit, buddy. Why'd you get involved in this?
Yeah, he initiated this.
Yeah.
I'm not blaming him. He was just a little pothead homeless kid.
I know, but I'm like, dude, why would you be looking for trouble?
Yeah, well, let's address that right now. His reason for doing this, I asked him at one point, I said, what are you doing? He said, man, I'm just scared of those dudes. And he was the oldest one in that clique.
Yeah.
And probably the biggest.
Yeah.
He said, I'm just scared of those dudes, man. I'm just, I want to get away from it. Well, he forgets to tell me, or he didn't forget, he just didn't tell me. Not only had been living there at that house with that kid, Jason Aguilar, and her mother, the suspect, he had been banging her. We don't find this out until 4 years later at federal trial. We got wind of it. And he admitted, I was banging my best friend's mom. Yeah.
He just told someone and it just trickled through?
Yeah, then he was confronted on it. My thinking is, my reasoning, I would think that this guy did. This is just my opinion and some others. He was just a homeless little turd, a little pothead, from West Texas or whatever. And he's banging this woman. And the suspect, her husband, she was 43. I was 27 at the time. Yeah. She was 43. Her husband was 56. And he'd already left her for a little teenage girl that he already got knocked up and had a kid with.
Oh my God, this is dregs of society.
Within 10 hours after the shooting, he and his girlfriend and their baby moved back in the house. We'll get to that.
Oh my God.
Yeah, this is a group of whack jobs.
Holy cow.
Yeah, but then they, like I said, the system failed that woman her entire life. Somebody should have stood up years ago and said, hey, somebody be done with her. But anyway, tried to get scattered. She makes the threats. My informant calls me. Michael Schaefer calls me. And I say, hey, where are you? And he said, well, I'm at my brother's house. I said, all right, well, stay. Are you safe there? And he said, yes. I said, stay there. I'll go to work early. Hit me on my beeper about 8 or 9. So I get back to the station early, and he called me and gives me all the details. So I call the district attorney's office, and I talked to Jean Spradling Hughes, who has lied about this the entire time.
Oh, my God.
She was a prosecutor. They have DA intake. You call the DA's office, hey, I got A, B, C, and D.
Of course.
We'll accept charges on an aggravated robbery, whatever the situation is.
Yeah.
She said, yeah, we got a good felony retaliation, 3rd-degree felony. She said, I get off at midnight. This is like about 9 o'clock. She goes, I get off at midnight. I'm going to, my relief up here at DA intake is I'll give him a run now. I'll brief him on what's going on. That's all right. So I get all my paperwork done. And then I get down to the DA's office. It's after midnight. Well, let me back up. Jean Spradling Hughes told me to call my informant's mother in Austin, which I did. She said, absolutely. I said, do you know this Susan White woman? And she said, well, I should have paid more. She said something about my son used to hang out there, but he lived there.
One sec. Why are you calling the suspect's mother? How old is the informant's mother?
Yeah, because Susan White, the suspect, because my informant lived with her.
Yeah.
He was making long-distance phone calls. Remember they used to have long-distance phone bills? Yeah. And Susan White was going through these long-distance phone bills. Because they figured out some teenage girls overheard something. And they figured out that he was the informant, the snitch.
Okay.
So Susan White, the suspect's going through her long distance phone bills and just calling random numbers, unfamiliar numbers to her.
Okay.
So she gets in touch with my informant's aunt in Killeen, and then she told her the threats. Then my informant's mother lived in Austin.
So the mom got the threats and you were calling
So she called the son. Yeah, so I called the verified threats.
Okay.
So that was all squared away. Get all that.
Fucking a lot of parents involved here with these hooligan kids.
Oh, what's the shenanigans actually?
My kid's 19 and running around with guns. I'm going to be like, buddy.
Oh, these guys are no good.
A mental patient, you're on your own.
Yeah, we have all their criminal records. I have all the dispatch calls on these documents were recovered, most of them through the Texas Rangers. I said there was at least 100,000 pages. And in those, when the DA's office was trying to connect me to this woman, they subpoenaed my beeper where I lived up on the lake about an hour north of Houston, and my dad's ranch. She never called any of those. I had never called her from those numbers. The suspect, her phone records, which we have, she never called me. I never called her.
Yep.
Nobody saw us together, nothing, except for this captain's statement, which we'll get to. There was absolutely no connection to this woman. But there's a lot of deep connection to this woman and several other people in the sheriff's department, we found out. But anyway, on the case, I go down the DA's office. It's after midnight. And so Jim Mount was the prosecutor that came on at midnight during intake with his little goofy bow tie. I sat down and talked to that guy for about 2 hours. If you're a prosecutor, you don't know who I am.
Right.
I'll bring your report. You're going to read the offense report, right? Well, it's clearly in that offense report, it met the culpability of the crime. The elements of the crime were there. He read it, and he's lied his ass off on documentaries, books, because he screwed up something with it down there. But he lies his ass off about it.
Why?
Yeah, because they tried to blame all this on me.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, the DA's office, it's like 4 o'clock in the morning. I finish up.
When you're presenting it to him, he's not, is he questioning you? Is he thinking like, dude, what, this is crazy? Or is he like, yeah, okay, sounds cut and dry.
I mean, pretty much. But to hear,
it wasn't contentious.
No, but to hear his story he tells now is I was banging on the table. I'm going to arrest this fucking bitch. I need you to get her. None of that was said.
Okay, but during this, while you're giving him the report, there's no contentiousness. No. It's just business.
Roger that.
Okay, so
and he's reading the report.
Yeah.
I mean, there's stuff in which there's no lack of copies of that report.
Right.
Lying his ass off.
Okay.
He said was in the report. And he said, well, McGowen told me this, this, and this. Well, he read the report. If I'm telling him A, B, and C, and the report says X, Y, and Z, he'll say, wait, you're telling me he's not adding up with your report.
All right, so what happens from there?
It was like 4 o'clock in the morning. And so another valid point. I told him, I said, hey, you need to call a judge. They had judges on call 24/7.
Okay.
He goes, well, I'm not going to call a judge at 4 in the morning. I said, well, all right, whatever, man. And then he told me, he said, there's another very well-known judge in Harris County. But he said, this judge comes on at 6 a.m. This is like 2 hours away, right? I never touched a warrant. I left there with him.
Yeah.
I said, well, I'm just going to have my day shift deputy, Tommy Moore.
Yeah.
And if I was going to go out and commit this murder, I'd definitely...
In the grand scheme of things, this
I would have waited for 2 hours to get the warrant.
Fucking caper of the century. You arrested a guy selling a stolen gun.
Yeah.
Someone made threats. This is like minor shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was just a third-degree felony.
So you go home, you're like, whatever. I'll deal with this tomorrow. This is a non-event.
Yeah,
no
exactly.
Dead,
when I leave,
one's hurt.
Yeah. When I leave, I'll bump my day shift because I work 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. Tommy Moore works 6 a.m. to 2 p.m.
Yep.
In the same beat. And I bumped him. I said, hey, go get that warrant and go serve it. It's all right. Well, if I was going to commit murder, I would have just gone. I'd have waited 2 hours.
Yeah, of course.
So anyway, I get called about 10 o'clock in the morning. It's time. He's at the DA's office. The judge won't sign the warrant because somebody at the DA's office had whited out my name 3 times on Whiteout, which they actually used to do back then for whatever reason. And so the prosecutor standing next to him gets on the phone. She goes, why in the fuck didn't you run this warrant last night? There's some threats. This got gangs and guns. So you need to talk to Jim Mount, your partner. Yeah. The one who can give it to me.
Why is he so upset that it didn't, why is he that upset about, it didn't get run last night? So run it now. Yeah.
Well, the judge wouldn't sign it because my signature wasn't on it. It had been whited out.
Okay.
So I told Tommy, leave it there. I'll come in early. So I went in there, got it, went to the DA's office the next night, picked it up, 11:30, 12 o'clock. I went there, and then there was a Houston PD officer there, young guy. We talked to the DA at that point. Really great guy, man. Good guy. Who actually signed the warrant. And I protected that guy and his family all this time. If I would have said this guy's name back in the day, I would have never gotten indicted. This guy who he was, this prosecutor. But anyway, they...
but why would you protect him? He didn't do anything wrong. Why didn't you just say, here's
No, I didn't want to drag his because I knew this prosecutor. I just wanted to drag his family into it later.
Okay.
Because they're good people. I protect a lot of people with some of them I shouldn't have. It caused me a lot of problems. Back in the day, man, I was so blindly loyal to the system.
I know, but I'm thinking I'm only protecting people if there were crimes committed. If you and I hit someone in the car and they're like, what happened? I'm like, well, ask McGowen. We were there together. Like, you saw this, I saw this. Like, you're not protecting it. Like, he didn't commit a crime. You're like, it's just factual information. What's to protect? Right? The prosecutor's doing what he's doing.
Yeah, when the things went sideways on us, and I didn't mention that guy's name until 2015. This happened in 1992. Wow. But nonetheless, I'll go get the warrant. I go back to the substation. It's like 12:30 at this point in the morning. I bumped that idiot sergeant on the radio. I say I have the warrant, bring it to the station. It's okay if I cuss, right? Because this needs to be what goes on with this dude. This guy this dude was something else.
Yeah.
So I get back to the station, and he was a little skinny, whiny dude from Ohio. And I go in there, and he yanks a warrant out of my hand. He looks at it, and the two deputies that just happened to be there were Todd Morong and Mike Malloy. To this day, these guys goes to guns for me. Our stories have never changed in 34 years. Matter of fact, it'll be in 15 days, it'll be 34 years the shooting happened.
Jeez.
But this Ruggiero, his sergeant, he said, take Morong and Malloy and go run the warrant. And I said, hey, man, I said, you're the sergeant. You're the suit. You need to go. I said, this is involving automatic weapons, burglaries, gangs, drugs. You need to get your ass out here and go. And exact words. And actually, this is I think it's the first sentence in this book, and it's bold. And he looks at me and goes, Woody, some kind of fucking pussy? Take Morong and Malloy and run the fucking warrant.
Really?
And I said, look, man, they're just like, what? And then I told him, I said, look, man, if you're not going to go, you need to get more deputies to run this. And mind you, I'd only been out there a few months. I didn't know any of these guys,
Ah, okay. Oh, so you're only a few months out there. And listen, my biggest problem when I worked at the prison by far was with the other guards. And I have some friends that are cops that are great guys, but I could tell you when you get into a police department, just like on a football team or any group of guys, you're going to get a pack of, some guys are good guys, some guys are assholes. And it's always interesting to me in law enforcement why some guys adopt that like stormtrooper mentality of like being that aggressive towards an underling, like you're an officer, he's a sergeant, so he's going to talk to you like that. My thought is like, that we'll eventually be the same rank, or we could be, and like I'll punch you in the mouth. Like, we're both cops, no one's coming to arrest either one of us. You know what I mean? Like, it's just shocking to me that people would treat each other like that, because you're essentially on the same team.
Yeah, this guy was something else. My first night out there, like I said, I didn't know anybody. My first night out in that district, he starts popping off of me in front of these deputies. I didn't know anybody.
That doesn't surprise me, man. I see hazing like you can't imagine.
He starts popping off of me, and I say, hey, man, I said, go in your office. I want to shut the door. I said, look here, man. I said, no stripes, no badges, man to man. What's your fucking problem?
Yeah.
I don't even know you, man.
Yeah.
Well, I heard this. I don't give a shit what you heard, man. We're starting fresh right here.
That kind of bully mentality and bully attitude is very, that happens.
And he wasn't, he literally had, his nose ran constantly. He was little skinny, whiny. He wasn't like somebody who was scaring me. I despise that dude.
All right. So
I absolutely despise that dude.
All right. So he tells you, don't be a pussy, get out there and run the thing. So you take the other guy.
Yeah. And when the contentious relation between this idiot and me, I sure as hell want to bring him out there to commit murder.
Yeah.
To a witness, right?
Yeah.
And then I'm telling him, you need to get more deputies. Which I didn't know. Someone could bring other policemen with me to go commit a murder. And these two guys that went with me, Morong and Malloy, man, these guys are great.
Okay.
I get choked up talking about these guys, what they've done for me, and what they put up with over the years defending me on this. He said, just take fucking Morong and Malloy and run the fucking warrant. All right, man. So I walk out with these guys. They're like, and not we're buddies or anything. Like they tried to pretend, they tried to portray at the beginning.
Yeah.
We ate at Denny's. We checked down calls.
We worked together.
Never saw them off duty. Yeah, just worked together. And I respected these guys because they were probably about the only ones out there who knew what they were doing. So we walk out and they're saying, hey, I gave them a brief. What's going down? I told them. But on the way out, this is important too. Is I worked a federal task force. I've kicked in a lot of doors.
Yeah.
Run a lot of warrants. And I've never called a suspect, and I didn't know this woman was her issues. and actually called, because back then you could get, if you had a warrant for your arrest, you could get a bondsman and just go take care of it and keep out of going for jail for a day or two. You know, just go to your hearing. I was going to call our advisor. Hey, you need to get your lawyer. You need to take care of this. And we have the recording of those 2 hang-up calls. Remember we said that your mom probably had an answering machine, a phone mate? Yeah. And she
so you were going to call and just say, come turn yourself in. We don't have to come down there and arrest you and all that shit. Okay.
So, and like I say many times, if this was a big murder plot, I was a freaking master genius to figure all these little nuances to it. But she didn't, she didn't answer. And so, walked outside, told him the wrong lawyer's going down. So, this is going to serve the warrants, all right. So we went, we parked, we never parked in the front of the house. And we parked a couple of doors down, and we went up, and Deputy Todd Morong and I went to the front door. And Malloy went to the back of the residence to maintain security. They always have a back door. So I think the Breonna Taylor started all this no-knock warrants.
Yeah.
This is why you don't knock on the door, man. The one time I knocked on the door, and this is what happened, But we're in this nice neighborhood. I know nothing about the history of these people. And these 2 guys that were with me, 2 deputies, they worked way down the other end of the district. So they weren't up in that end of the district with us. So they had no knowledge of this. But so Morong starts knocking on the front door, and 3 or 4 minutes into it, the suspect comes clearly high on drugs. She was on 4 drugs at the shooting, which
what drugs?
Basically incapacitated her at the time. The drugs would have.
What drugs?
Man, Milltown, Soma. There was 4 different things, but she some muscle relaxant, some other stuff. I don't know.
Okay.
But that was on the autopsy.
Okay.
But the medical examiner said that at this point, the drugs would have definitely affected her thinking and rationale, if you will.
Gotcha.
So anyway, she's slurring at the door. Who is it? And he said, hey, this is the sheriff's department. You need to open the door. She wouldn't open the door. And then she starts hollering, well, let me see some ID. And Malloy's doing all the talking. And Malloy said, you need to open the door. We can't slide it under the door. Open the door. We're trying to get her open the door and snatch her out.
Yeah.
Right? So at this point, she calls the sheriff's department. And she starts hollering, I want to talk to Lieutenant Coons. And at this day, I have no idea what she was. She even knew my lieutenant.
Yeah.
So she was hollering about Lieutenant Coons. I want to talk to Lieutenant Coons. The sheriff's department kept saying he's working on a different shift. You have to call him at the station in the morning. Excuse me. So anyway, she starts calling 911. And Morong's still banging on the door. And he says my name. He said, Miss White, is Deputy Morong, Deputy McGowen, the sheriff's department, open the door. Well, she recognized my name from 48 hours previously. Then she goes in this tirade. She starts hollering, get that McGowen off my property. He's a cop who thinks he owns the world and all this other stuff. Morong and I look, what the hell is she even talking about, right? So I saw this rapidly spinning out of control. So because that sergeant the way he was, I backed up and I walked over to the side of the house, the driveway, and I called him on the radio on this, what's called TAC 1. It's just like car to car, like a mile. While he was sitting in the comfort and safety of his air-conditioned office, that's all he did.
Yeah.
So I called him on the radio. I said, hey, we're being under 15 minutes, man. Yeah, I'm monitoring the radio. I said, you can get your ass out here, man. I just fucking go kick the fucking door. It's a felony warrant in it. And I said, look, you need to come out here. He still refused to come out here.
And this is all recorded, right?
Right, yeah.
Okay.
And if he would have said, what happened if he said, don't kick the door? Or what happened if he would have said, I'll be out there in a minute?
Yeah.
There goes my whole murder plot again, right?
I don't waste time with gimmicks and training. Either something makes you better or it doesn't. Most home setups fail because they can't keep up with you or you stop progressing. That's why I use AMP. It's an AI-powered strength training system that mounts in your home and adapts as you train. Every rep is tracked, resistance adjusts automatically, and you can run full strength sessions without needing a gym. It's not about convenience. It's about consistency and progression, even when you're training alone. If you want structure, serious strength work at home, check out amp.ai/rideout. Again, that's amp.ai/rideout. Well, are they accusing you of a premeditated? Did you get convicted of premeditated murder, or did you get convicted of murder, manslaughter or something?
No, it was first-degree felony. I was looking at life sentence both times.
So the conviction is suggesting that you went out there with the intent of killing this woman.
Actually, no. Actually, no.
Because like none of it matters if they're suggesting like, oh no, you didn't necessarily go there with the intent to kill her, but you did kill her like unlawfully.
Yeah, here's what they say. The DA's office, they try to say I lied to get the warrant.
Okay.
Therefore, the warrant was not lawful.
Okay.
Therefore, we didn't have a lawful right to force entry. Therefore, I didn't have a lawful right in self-defense and even defense of a third party, the guys that were with me. And then, and that's what happened.
Okay.
So if the warrant was unlawful, which now we've proved that it is, but that's not even the law.
This whole thing is like such a petty thing.
You're from Massachusetts?
Yeah.
And I guarantee you, Massachusetts, here in Tennessee, I know in Texas, in federal law, it's against the law to resist arrest, even if that arrest is unlawful. You know?
Correct.
And like my writ lawyer, because he said this is going to set case precedents. If say there's a white police officer and he's profiling, some black guy, right? Yep. He just stops him for no reason.
Yeah.
And then and now he could walk up and somebody could shoot the officer because technically that was an unlawful traffic stop if he didn't have probable cause.
Right.
And all this guy didn't have to be black. I mean, a Chinese guy, doesn't matter, white guy, or a hippie or whatever.
Yeah.
But then the guy could say, hey man, he had no right to stop me. It was an unlawful, detention or arrest. He had a gun. I was scared of him, so I shot him to protect myself.
Yeah.
I mean, somebody could get away with that using my case.
Okay. All right. So go ahead. So you're there. He says, kick the door in. What are you going to do?
Yeah, he says kick the door. So I tell him wrong. And it was it was a fairly nice house.
Hypothetically, at some point, could you have just been like, "Fuck all this! Like, let's just come back later. This is spinning out of control.
Yeah.
We don't need to arrest her that bad. She didn't kill anyone. She's just a troublemaker." Mm-hmm. Did it ever, in that moment? And I'm not suggesting that you were wrong, but did it ever like cross your mind, like, "Fuck, this isn't worth it. I don't get paid enough for this. Like, we'll come back and get her another time."
I didn't get paid enough for it. That's for sure. No, but my duty was protect that informant.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, and what he had told me, and that's why there was a rush to get it. That somebody pulled a gun on him after we cut him out. Put him on the side and let him go.
Yeah, I forgot about the informants being threatened. Okay.
Yeah, the informant being threatened, and then this woman's calling his family, basically threatening to have him killed. And when I talked to Michael Schaefer was the informant. When I talked to his mother in Austin, I directly asked her. I said, do you know this Susan White woman? And she said, I've talked to her on the phone a few times. And I said, what's your opinion? She goes, I think she's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
And I said, well, do you think that Susan White's a suspect? I said, do you think that she has the ability to have him hurt or killed or have somebody do it? She said, yeah, I do. I said, well, I'm going to go get a warrant and arrest her. And she said, that's great relief. And she had already told her son, she was so concerned, she told him to get out of town and go out in Killeen and go stay with his dad. That's what his concern was.
But the woman was like connected it through all areas of like criminality as well as law enforcement and was like banging several people, correct?
Yeah. Well, let's get to the shooting. Then we make a note about, because that's the whole crux of this thing.
Yeah. Let's get to the kick the door.
Kicking the door. So Morong, let's say I was a good sized guy. Morong was quite a bit bigger than me. Marine, big old dude. He kicked the door a couple of times, and it just wasn't coming down. It was a big double doors with expensive cut glass. They'd opened out for some reason. And I told Morong, I said, hey, no sense in tearing down this, this crazy door, expensive door. Just you maintain security here. I'll go around the back with Malloy, because every house has like a utility back door. And so I went around to the back. This time it was over 15 minutes this was going on. The idiot sergeant wasn't coming out. He wouldn't assign anybody else to come out there. Ordered us to kick the door. And so I went around the back with Malloy. And then we banged on the door for like 4 or 5 minutes. No answer. And so I told Malloy to go ahead and kick the door. And mind you, at the front door, if Morong would have kicked the door in, he would have been the first one in.
Yeah.
He'd almost probably shot the suspect.
Yeah.
And then at the back door, Malloy hit it once, nothing happened. Hit it a second time, the door frame cracked and the alarm went off. And then I told him, hit it again. And while Malloy's kicking the door and I'm standing there next to him, Morong sees the suspect moving toward us through the shadows in the house. She's going toward us. So he hauls ass around the back to let us know, hey, she's coming at you. Well, the third time the door kicks, Malloy enters it, and the suspect had destroyed the house when her husband left her, destroyed the furniture, destroyed the house. It was a
not just a pig pen, like actually went out of her way to like rip and cut everything up. And
exactly. The furniture, it was a disaster in there. Yeah, we have the scene photos actually.
Okay.
But Malloy goes in and trips and falls. All right. And it's nighttime. It's like 1:30. With our flashlights, sheriff's office, the alarm's going off. We're on the sheriff's office, felony warrant. He tripped and fell over, Malloy over this trash. So, of course, I went over him to protect him. If Malloy would have tripped, he would have probably shot the suspect. That just put me number one in the stick, the first guy in.
Okay.
Because door wouldn't come open wrong. Malloy makes entry, but he trips and falls. So right ahead of me, there was a small breakfast area, kitchen, formal dining. I swing to the right, and it's a large living room with a door on the east wall. And then I see a suspect crossing, not running in, but crossing a door with something in her hand, shiny. I'm thinking it's a phone, because she was running around with those portable phones they used to have hollering. And then that's another thing. This is all being recorded also. So I'm going to murder somebody while the police are recording it,
With a body cam?
No body cameras back then.
Being recorded, then how? What do you mean it's being recorded?
She's on the phone with 911.
Oh, audio recording.
Yeah, hollering 911.
All right.
Oh, they're trying to break in my house. And the dispatchers are telling her they have a warrant. Those are deputies who know who they are. You need to open the door, Miss White. Nah. So anyway, I see her across the doorway. So I beeline to the door. And there's a lot of contention. Even that idiot prosecutor on his documentaries, he ran directly to the bedroom where she was. Well, yeah, I'm serving a felony warrant on a suspect. I see the suspect. The people are, well, he didn't even clear the rest of the house. Well, if you're serving a felony warrant on a suspect and you see the suspect, you don't go search what are you looking for, the suspect?
Yeah.
You go, I don't use a term, that was the target of the warrant.
You're not in Fallujah clearing a house full of ISIS. You're serving a warrant.
When you see the bad guys, standing.
Yeah.
So I beeline over there, and I know Malloy's behind me. I don't know what wrong is. The alarm's wayland. We're all, sheriff's office, felony warrant, with their hands up. I come in, the door swung open like this, and there was a little nightstand, had a TV on, and a cable converter box they used to have back in the day. It swung open that. I lean in around the door like this, hold the light like this, and the suspect standing in the corner with a firearm or a pistol in her hand. Right arm on her elbow, pointing. She never says a word, pointing right at me.
And she definitely had a gun. There's no you didn't think you had a gun.
Yeah, there was
after this case, she had a gun.
Yeah, there was never any that she didn't have the gun.
What kind of gun?
It was a nickel-plated Lorson 32. Yeah. And then we'll get to that in a second.
Okay.
Where the gun came from and why she purchased it. But I lean in there and she's pointing the gun because you do tunnel vision.
Yeah, of course.
I never knew she was wearing glasses at the time of the shooting until a year later when my lawyers would look at the autopsy pictures. But I tell her, I said, drop the gun. When I say that, she turns like this and pulls it up. And
no way.
Pointing right, 11. Yeah, because here's the bed. There was no gunshot residue on the foot of the bed. There's no gunshot residue on her. As the DA said that I shot her in the face and then went on and stood over and shot her through the chest in front of two deputies I don't know. But there's no gunshot residue on her clothing, even on the foot of the bed. So I had to be at least 11 feet away from her to shooting.
Okay.
But
so you're in like a Mexican standoff at this point.
Exactly.
Okay.
More like this. I said, drop the gun. I have my light up here. That stuff holding your light like you see in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Naturally shoot at the light.
Yeah.
Right. So I told her the second time, she came up like this. I see her put her finger on the trigger.
Oof.
And I see her start to flex. I told her, I told her a third time. I said, drop the gun, I'm going to shoot you. I see her flexing. So I fired 3 rounds. And that's the first time I knew Deputy Morong was behind me, because Malloy was literally leaning against me. I fired the rounds. Morong runs underneath me because the suspect fell on her face down, but on her left side.
Yeah. And
her gun was under her right hand, under her right knee, which is over her left knee. And then there was a big issue about what I said right when the shots were fired, And I know Malloy's like physically right up next to me, shoving on me. I looked at him. I said, "Fuck, you heard me. I told her 3 times." It was just like, and it's weird because my emotion was anger.
Of course.
I was pissed that somebody put me in this position.
Yeah.
And it happened just in seconds.
Yep.
Because I see Morong runs underneath me, so I see him going to the suspect. He jumps on top of her. She landed on a waterbed. And then I look at Malloy. Then I came in. I never remember what I did with my flashlight. You always handcuff a suspect. But I remember I had my handcuffs out. And then the only anything different between any of us was at this point, Malloy said that I said, there's a gun. And he said, I said it, and I said, he said, there's a gun. I distinctly remember him saying, there's the gun. And so I reached out my left pinky, pulled out from under her right hand, and pitched it to the floor. But they, that's all it was, man. They have them all the time, shootings like that. Drugged up suspect with a gun, refuse to draw, points it at you. That's what happens, you know. But then,
I mean, no one's disputing the fact that it's on record that you're there to serve a warrant. She's saying to the dispatch, "I'm not opening the door," and like screaming and yelling. To, yeah. And you shoot her, and she clearly, in front of another cop, has a gun pointed at you.
Right.
So I'm just trying to like make sure that we're square on the facts. Like this seems pretty cut and dry so far.
Yeah. In my first trial, that's the only thing my lawyers wanted to work on. That 6 seconds time period.
Right.
All this other bullshit.
That's what I'm thinking too.
Tabloid trash, rumors in the window. Yeah. They said none of that cares. What happens when you lean in that door? And to this day, Deputy Morong, who stood there with me and still does, on a recent interview with an FBI agent, I'll tell you about in a minute, he said the only thing that Kent McGowen did wrong that night, he should have shot her when she first pointed the gun at him. He's ought to shot her 3 times right then. When he gave her he said, I don't know why I can't give her the opportunity to put it down.
Yeah.
You know? But after she's down, Morong jumps, because she lands on a water bed. We don't know if she's hit or not.
Yeah.
You know, the radio's going off, the house alarm's going off, you know, smoke, your night vision's gone, total chaos. But Todd jumps on her and he rolls over and looks at her and he said, you know, that she was deceased, you know. I said, fuck, man. So I grabbed the radio. First thing I did was call for help.
Yeah.
And that idiot sergeant.
No.
I got on the radio, told the dispatcher, I remember exactly what I said. I was Unit 4176. I got on the radio, said 4176. I said, shots fired, suspects down, all deputies are okay. Roll a supervisor, EMS in the package. The package is like internal affairs, homicide, D's office, your union lawyers, what have you.
Yeah.
So
you need everyone know.
Yeah, and everybody shows up, you know, and there was a bunch of bullshit tabloid trash that we were grab-assing and laughing out there, and none of that happened. People would have seen it and come forward. That was just the DA's office lying about stuff.
Well, what I don't understand is why is the DA's office trying to frame police officers? This isn't like a stand-up citizen, like she's been arrested, her son's been arrested multiple times. They're like, they're not exactly like, you know, running the Rotary Club. So that's a good question. Let's start with this. The gun that she had, first it was a throwdown gun. That's they're always going to allege that, right? Well, when the homicide guys got there, suggesting that you threw it down.
Yeah, first that was like the first day, right? With 2 deputies, I didn't know until when the investigators got there. They found the box in the top of her closet where she bought the gun at Champion's Pawn Shop.
Yep.
And it had the ATF 4470, the receipt for the pawn shop, and then the ATF 4473, the federal questionnaire you have to fill out to buy a firearm.
So there's no question it's her gun.
Yeah, she lied on it. She bought it feloniously. She's a drug addict, alcoholic, psychiatric issues.
Well, I'm saying
lied her ass off.
A drop gun is not a chance. She clearly bought this gun, right or wrong.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, her own son even gave a statement, with as much of a turd as he is. He gave a statement and said, she had the gun because she was going to, quote, blow, her husband's name was Ron. His exact word, she was going to blow Ron's fucking head off with it. That's that was his exact quote. But everybody gets in there. The crime scene investigator, he had no experience. The guy shows up, the Deputy Reinhardt, Sheriff's Department. No measurements, no pictures. He left bullets there. People meandering around everywhere. And then there wasn't a crime, it's a crime scene. The scene photos. There's, you can see, like from the thigh down, a guy wearing a pair of blue jeans, some ragged ass tennis shoes. We saw, who is this guy? You know, because it's like internal affairs and homicide. Yeah. This is the neighbor. He was walking around, stepping on blood, kicking the brass all around.
What?
Yeah, and there's homicide and all this stuff.
Dude, is this like the fucking Keystone Cop Department?
Yeah. I mean, I came from Houston PD, and it was a whole different ballgame there, man. I never saw any of this corruption shit, this unprofessional. You know, there were some good guys out there. Jay Coons, Todd Morong, Mike Malloy. There were some good guys out there. But I saw some crazy stuff, man. Like all these deputies banging this woman, because I just went out there. And there was a tabloid trash book written about me. And it's just bullshit. Sensationalistic, police-hating, grab-ass tabloid trash.
But why do you think that they're targeting you? Like what?
In this book, this writer who wrote that against me, she said that Susan White was dating a baby-faced deputy named Matt, M-A-T-T, right? And it kept saying Matt here, man. Then it said, or was it Mac? My last name's McGowen. I've never gone by Mac. No one in my family's gone by Mac. Nobody's even called me that. But but there was a situation with this deputy. I had a civilian observer riding with me one night, and we cleared a call with a bunch of teenagers and whatever. So we're doing our thing. I'm coming down Amber TC Jester. She lived like 3 houses off TC Jester, so it's somewhat of a major thoroughfare. on 3407 Amber Forest was the address. Well, I see a patrol car parked in the driveway one night, like 11 o'clock at night. I knew all the deputies out there because there's very few of us. I know everybody lived, so I knew a deputy didn't live there. And this is 3 weeks prior to the shooting. And I turned around and I said, that's odd, because if a call would have dropped in that beat, I would have got it, right?
Yeah,
so I parked next door like you're supposed to. I walk in, the door's open. And first thing I see, Matt, not Mac, but Matt, sitting in a like a lazy boy chair, kicked back, in a uniform, patrol car there. And the suspect I wanted shooting a few weeks later, I don't even make contact with her. I never look at her or nothing.
Yeah.
You know, I would, if I was at the bank, I mean, I wouldn't give her time. She's absolutely not the kind of women I would date.
Yeah.
You know, and I was divorced this time, but they, and even those teenagers who was Michael Schaefer, the informant, and her son, I didn't know these kids at this point. These little thuggeries. But I look at him, and the gun she pulls me 3 weeks later is literally sitting on a bar. And I have a civilian witness who testified to all this. This guy was just riding. You know, you can have observers. Yeah. I look at Matt, and I look at this. I said, why is there a firearm sitting here? He goes, I got it. I was like, man, you got it? He goes, yeah. And I'm like,
wait, man. You see the car. You walk up to the house.
And the door was open. I walked in, yeah.
And the woman is sitting there with the cop, Matt, and there's a gun. And you're like, guys, what's going on? So you had seen this woman before.
Yeah, this is the first one I'd ever seen her.
Prior to the incident.
Right.
Okay.
Right. She's like, there's a large living room. She's over in this corner. Same house as shooting in.
Okay.
She's way over in the corner sitting like a...
Oh, so you were familiar with the house.
I wasn't there for a couple of minutes.
Right.
And Matt Smith's over here, you know, sitting there. I'm like, these teenagers milling about, standing behind him, I recall. And I just
there's a lot of people in there. Matt's chilling with these hooligans.
And in that other, I'm not going to say the name of that other tabloid trash book, but it says in there that I went out and taught Susan White how to box. I'm not a boxer. I know jiu-jitsu. I'm not a boxer. Well, guess who's a boxer? Matt, right? And I took her out. I took Susan White out to show her how to shoot this gun. She tried to shoot me. Well, who finally admitted to take her out shooting the gun? Matt, you know? And in all these allegations made against me, let me tell you this. I've seen one 3 times in my entire life. Then, that was like 3 weeks prior to the shooting. Because I went out there in that beat on April 3rd of 92. Well, she was in a psych unit in South Carolina or somewhere around there for many months. And the shooting occurred August 25th of 92. So she was gone most of that time. But all those allegations made against me were made from the deputy from January until they ran him off and fired him over this. We found out. No, this is another deputy named James Schnurr, who we talked to. All this stuff about pulling over her kid and all this.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, all those documents were recovered. We had all the call slips. That's whenever you call the police, it's called a call slip.
Yeah, man.
All the call slips in there from all that time period. It was that suspect, Susan White, calling the sheriff's department. You need to have Deputy Schnurr come out here. He's harassed my son. I need to talk to him and all this. All these allegations made about me were between January 92 until they got rid of him, and I just slide into his slot as 4176.
Okay.
And then she was gone for most of the months I was out there. But, which comes into play some other stuff that proves I didn't know this woman. Remember, I told you she called Captain Harper, C.J. Harper, Clyde James Harper. Yeah. Well, Harper wrote a statement about 3 days after the shooting. Never mentions my name. All these allegations in the tabloid trash documentaries that I was harassing. This is another deputy. Well, this letter, it was his original statement was written the 28th of August, 3 days after the shooting. Never mentions my name. Well, you know, Susan White told me this deputy was this deputy. That all happened before I even got out there.
Okay.
And what are you talking about me?
Yeah.
I get indicted on October 28th of 92. Well, Harper writes a second letter, a formal statement. Interjects my name everywhere in there as he possibly could.
Why?
Well, now it's too bad that he's dead, because I'd like to see what would happen if he didn't. Back in the day, they used to have those fax machines with the cover sheets, right?
Yeah.
And all these 100,000 documents were recovered, a few years ago, since I've been out. We have the original statement, which we'd never seen, but was presented to the grand jury and elsewhere. And then we have his secondary statement. Well, when I got indicted, he writes a secondary statement and sends it to John Denholm, the homicide sergeant. We'll get to. And those cover sheets, they have the fax cover sheet. It's handwritten.
Yeah.
And signed by Captain Harper. Hey, make sure this jives. And use the word jibe. Make sure this jives with what you need. If you need to change anything else, let me know to make this work for you and all this. I'm like, when I read
Who's that too?
John Denholm.
The prosecutor.
No, this is the John Denholm that he was the homicide sergeant that I had problems with. We'll get to that.
Okay.
But anyway, that's I wound up getting indicted, and then I got called in when I got indicted, and then we'll get on to the setup.
So wait a minute. So after the shooting, how soon thereafter do you get indicted?
Yeah, shooting was August 25th of 92.
Yep.
Usually a police shooting, it's 4 to 6 hours. Everybody goes in there and says what happened. See you later.
Okay.
My grand jury license is 6 weeks. And I had been divorced.
6 weeks?
Yeah, 6 weeks. And I was divorced for a number of years in between this. I married my high school sweetheart, got divorced, and got remarried in the middle of all this. But they're calling girls and women that I dated, nothing to do with shooting. They bring my wife in. At that point, she was my ex-wife. We're still best friends. They bring my wife to the grand jury. And she said, I had nothing to do with this shooting. I know nothing about this. And they said, well, we need you to say this and this. If not, we're going to walk you across the street to a judge, and we're going to have you put in jail for contempt of a grand jury. And she's like, well, put me in jail. What do you want me to say?
Isn't there a law about spouses can't be compelled to prosecute against their partner?
Yeah, we were divorced at this time.
This is this high school sweetheart?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We were married for 7 or 8 years and got divorced. Then we were getting remarried later. Yeah, grand jury was a joke, man. And then I got indicted. I get a call from my patrol bureau major, was a good guy. I think he's still alive, actually, Charlie Wiedemeyer.
Okay.
Old policeman's policeman. He called me in my house my day off. I think it was on a Tuesday. And he's talking somewhat quietly. And he said, hey, can you hear me? And I said, yes, sir. He goes, hey, I need you to come down to internal affairs. And I said, all right. And he goes, can you hear me? And I said, yes, sir. He goes, bring your lawyer. So I'm like, we already knew some hinky shit was going on. Like the fingerprints were wiped off the suspect's gun. It was all kind of crazy shit going on.
Are you starting to sweat now?
Yeah, because we knew something was up.
When did you really start to sweat? I would imagine when they convene a grand jury, even if you're not indicted, I'm like, oh my God, this is spiraling.
I went and testified at the grand jury.
Yeah.
For 4 hours and 45 minutes. And then when I think they recently, like in the last year or two, changed the law. In Texas, the grand jurors were picked by the judge. Like I was in the 232nd District Court. Like the judge of 232nd they picked him. I mean, it's his brother-in-law, his next-door neighbor, the guy who mows his yard.
They pick them randomly? They don't pick them from a pool?
Yeah. The judge picks the pool.
Okay.
And then, so he knows everybody in there. So you're going to get indicted.
He picks the whole pool, and then from the pool he picks, or he just randomly calls people like, hey, come down and serve on a jury?
Yeah, that's what they used to do. How you want to serve on the jury? So these are a bunch of old retired white people on your grand jury.
No way.
Yeah.
I guess what I'm trying to think about as you describe this, I'm thinking why the fuck do they want you so badly? You're a young guy, you killed this person who's aside from banging a bunch of people that were apparently cops and maybe politicians, we're not talking about you killed the head nurse at the trauma center or some
right. Yeah.
I just can't understand why do they want so desperately to set up an innocent guy?
Yeah, we're getting to that. When I was at the grand jury, they asked me crazy questions. I mean, it was ridiculous.
Like what?
Well, it was kind of an L-shaped table, and all the grand jurors there and the prosecutors up there. Well, which we have the pictures of. Pictures of me in the grand jury illegally leaked out, but they gave me a little Raven 25 automatic with pink grips on it. To pose with a weapon, And I said, this is not what she pointed at me. What's just similar to it? Because they're trying to make it look like she had a little toy. Yeah. But she can get killed by a 25.
I don't want to get shot by.
But after, at the end, I remember that asshole prosecutor, he said, does anybody have any questions for Deputy McGowen? Because I was in uniform. And this whole white guy on the end, I have some questions. I was like, man, here we go. This is a juror. Yeah, I could tell his tone. I have some questions. He kept staring at me.
Jurors ask questions in a grand jury? Mm-hmm. Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah. Hope I never see one.
Yeah, it's unpleasant.
I can imagine.
Bad things happen at the end.
I can't imagine.
If they want to indict you, they're going to indict you. You don't get to have your lawyer go in there. They could ask me a question. I could step outside and talk to my lawyer, But that just looked bad. My lawyer said, you keep coming out here. You know?
So I'd be like, I don't care.
Oh, you're on your own.
Tell you right from the beginning.
You have no rights in there.
I've repeated this so many times to my wife and my children, and they're young. I say, if anything ever happens, the cops tell you right from the jump, whatever you say, we're going to use that against you. So you don't have to say anything. So I always tell them, just say, I'll answer everything as soon as my lawyer gets here. But until I have a lawyer, I don't want to ask a question. I don't want to answer a question, because even if you had nothing to do with it, you're like, they tell you, we're going to use whatever you say against you.
My word of advice on that, never call the cops. Never talk to them. I was locked up with a lot of dudes who called because they and their wife got in an argument.
Yeah.
And in Texas, all it takes, man, especially a girl, if a girl, hey, he molested me when I'm 40, but when I was 9, he molested me. You're going to prison, dude. You're dating a girl. So you're dating a woman who's 40, whatever. She has like a teenage daughter. Yeah. Hey, I need $100 to go to the mall. I'm not going to give you $100. Yeah. Well, I'll tell the cops you touched me. I don't care what you tell them. Yeah. Well, no, you got 30 years in prison. All it takes in Texas is a point and accusation.
All right, so grand jury, you're there. Are you like shitting yourself while you're on the stand? Are you like, oh my God, this is a nightmare?
I knew where it was going when I was defending
Or are you thinking like, there's no fucking way I'm getting in trouble for this?
Yeah, pretty much. I knew it was bullshit by the questions. I was going, man, these guys are trying to fuck me. But I did nothing wrong.
You had a lawyer and the union and everything. And the union has lawyers. Okay. So
yeah, they show up at the shooting scene and whatnot.
Okay.
But yeah, I go to the grand jury, and then it was 6 weeks long. I testified for 4 hours and 45 minutes on one day. After the grand jury disbanded or whatever, that's when the major Wiedemeyer called me. So I go, he whispers at me, he goes, get your lawyer and come down here. So I call one of my union lawyers, Bob Thomas, who is a retired Houston PD sergeant, another good guy. But Bob, he said, hey, they're going to give you like 1, 2, 3 days off for something, because my indictment happened at election time also. I just got sucked into this crazy ass, hurricane of shenanigans. The sheriff was Johnny Clevenhagen. The DA was Johnny Holmes, big handlebar mustache, They hated each other. And it was election time. They were trying to screw over each other, accusing each other of being corrupt. Now, I'm a few weeks from election time. I get in the shooting. The DA's gonna get on my, it was crazy what got involved. Jeez. But anyway, Bob Thomas told me to come get him. I go by his office and pick up this lawyer. So we go to the internal affairs. So the major told me to come in. So I walk in there, and Bob's behind me, and Major Wiedemeyer, the patrol bureau major, sitting at the desk. And this is the ID captain. The ID captain was standing here, homicide captain over here, and there was an old heavy-set detective in the corner. And Major Wiedemeyer said, hey, McGowen, sit down. I said, yeah. He looked at me and goes, I don't know how to tell you this. And that's one. He goes, they handed down a sealed indictment. And I didn't even say anything. My lawyer, man, he grabs me by on my shoulders. He goes, for what? And he said, for murder.
What's a sealed indictment?
I would say don't release it publicly because they don't want you to run away type thing.
Okay.
So they just call you in, hey, come here, we need to ask you a few questions. They put the snatches gravis on you.
Okay. Oh, so that's what they were calling you for, essentially, to process and arrest you?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
You know? And so when he said murder, I literally felt like I got slammed across the chest with a baseball bat. That's the only way I could describe it. And I didn't say anything. I didn't know, what are you going to say? My whole career, that's all I ever wanted to be as a policeman. Yeah. And despite all this tabloid trash, which we have all my ID files and everybody else is involved, man, I had chief of police commendations, life-saving medals, civilian commendations, my civil service evaluations. They rate you up from a 0 to 30 in different things. I think I had a 27. Yeah. I was way above average. And it just all came crashing down. I know I was fucked. I know my family's destroyed.
Did you have any enemies whatsoever in the police department? Because I know a lot of cops don't like each other.
Yeah, let me tell you about this one. What started all this? There was a sergeant. This dickhead. Hang on, man. I get choked up thinking about this guy. He was a big, fat, slovenly dude from Ohio. Same place where David was Gerald the sergeant there, buddy.
Yeah.
And man, this Denholm dude, he was never my sergeant. He was the administrative sergeant when I was an instructor. And one of the other instructors with me, named Ackerman, they set him up. He went to prison for 17 years for something he didn't do. Ackerman.
How many guys on your department went to prison?
We're getting a bunch. Since I've come out public, my phone goes off all day. And I'll tell you, we'll get to that in a second. But
I mean, if one police officer in my town went to prison, I'd be like, holy shit, they arrested a cop.
Oh, they're stacking us up all at the same time. But this Denholm, he was involved with a clique in the sheriff's department at the time. It was run by two majors, Red McCaskill and I'm drawing a blank.
That's all right. Names don't matter.
I'm so pissed off I can't even think straight.
Yeah,
I get so wound up, overwhelming on this stuff. But anyways, two majors were in this very corrupt clique. Man, they were running shakedowns, running, you know what a chop shop is, right? Stolen cars.
Stolen cars.
They all got busted on this and nothing happens to them. One of the majors had 6 DWIs. Nothing happened to him. he was a prison guard for Texas. He knew the major of the sheriff. He brings him in. This guy jumps up the ranks, winds up being a major in a few years. So that's a 30-year, situation.
Yeah.
But this asshole, John Denholm, he also fled to Ohio when I got out. Him and Gerald fled to Ohio when I got out.
Why'd they wait until you got out?
Yeah, I went to the prison. They tried to have me killed in prison many times.
I'm sure they did.
If I would have done something, I guess you have kids, right?
Yeah.
If I did something that totally did this to you,
yeah,
I was just a total malicious piece of shit.
Yeah.
I did this to you, destroyed your family, destroyed you, sent you to prison for 20 years, something I set you up on, and you lived through prison or getting out, I'd run away.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not that I would do anything.
Of course.
I would haul ass.
Yeah.
Both him and Gerald took off to Ohio where they came from.
They left the job or they retired?
They got fired. They got fired from different agencies. That's old clique.
Really?
But the guys who really set me up was the Sergeant John Denholm and Steve Clapper, a DA investigator. His third day on the job, mind you, of my shooting. These two assholes are buddies. John Denholm was just a big loudmouth, slovenly bullies. I never tolerated bullies in my entire life. And he was bullying all these rookies. He bullied everywhere. And this Deputy Ackerman, big old muscled up guy, we're the only two who would stand up to this Denholm for a year and a half that we were instructors. And he was never a sergeant. I caught him tampering my payroll. Both were.
What?
Yeah, I caught him tampering our payroll one time. It was, I think, Thanksgiving Day, just real quick. Ackerman and I were going to work and we witnessed a fatality, a car wreck. Yeah. I think it had 2 deaths. It was like an hour and a half where we had to be at work. So we're directing traffic, whatever. We're getting everybody there, giving statements, whatever. So we did as departmental policies is we put in for overtime for that hour and a half. Yeah. Because we're on duty technically. And then we'd burn off 10, 15 minutes early because the night shift guys would come in and leave us. They'd come in 10. This one would come in, we'd go out.
Standard
this dickhead Denholm, he sat there noting that. So he's telling, y'all left 15 minutes early. Yeah, but I came in 20 minutes, 30 minutes early. Yeah. 15. All the time we left early, totally illegal. But anyway, so I confront this dude. Well, he's involved in this little clique. I think it was 2 days after this shooting, the corrupt major, who was his buddy, I'm just drawing a blank on that. It was Red McCaskill and the other major. I think it was.
Well, that's all right.
Anyway, 2 majors were running this corrupt shit. It was very corrupt back then. Totally. Houston PD, I never saw this stuff go on. When I went to the sheriff's department, I was like, what in the hell's going on here? Yeah. Some of the stuff I saw happening was way out of line.
And you saw the interview I did with Greg Kelly.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly.
That's incompetence.
Actually, I was in Williamson County at my sister's house where that happened, watching that.
Such a tragic
You have to check Michael Morton. What happened to him? What happened to him in Williamson County? The same county that Greg had.
It's crazy. Yeah. It's just you hear these stories. The reason I'm asking all these questions is it doesn't seem believable. Who would ever want to send someone to? You could hate someone. I still don't want to see them go to prison. Because that's just the first step. The time in prison, which we'll get to, is
it's not just. I'm not saying that these guys are just after me. We'll get to it in a minute. Yeah. They went after a bunch of us.
Yeah.
Ackerman and I were the first ones. When you do that to somebody, which happens all the time, this is an epidemic, man. This innocent people in prison thing is an epidemic in this country.
Oh yeah.
You get one pissed off person out there, they're gunning for you. But they went after a bunch of us. It wasn't just me.
All right. So back to you though. They hand down the indictment. What happens from there?
I remember they handed me the indictment. I rember that old detective I told you about sitting in the corner. Yeah. Never seen him before since. Yeah. I remember him looking at me and said, "Let me tell you something, Deputy McGowen." He said, I've been here 46 years, 42 years in internal affairs and homicide, thousands of homicides, hundreds of police shootings. This is the cleanest fucking shoot I've ever seen. Yeah. He said, you have 2 deputies who didn't even know they were there with it. You had a warrant signed by a judge. Yeah. The gun, he said that, I told him about the ATF 4473. He's the one who took the statement from her son, Jason Aguilar. She goes, I sit there, her own son gave me a statement that she bought the gun to, quote, blow Ron's fucking head off. Yeah. Her husband, Ron White. And he said, you know what, McGowan? He said, what scares the shit out of me? He goes, this could be any of the 8,600 law enforcement officers in this county could be sitting right there. That's happening. Oh, yeah. So, anyway, I get indicted. Absolute shenanigans breaks loose. But this fucking Denholm, and when I get in the shooting, the major promotes Denholm, transfers him from being an admin sergeant. Absolutely no investigative history at all. Mm-hmm. He puts this jerk off as a sergeant homicide. I think he made a lieutenant for a short time, from what I understand. 2 days after my shooting. And so you know where that went, right? He was backdooring all the shit, man. Feeding stuff to the, lies to the, leaking stuff to the media, bunch of illegal stuff, pictures of me on the grand jury.
Jesus.
And yeah. And an Ackerman partner, he got a totally legit deal. He jammed him up. He sent one of my partners, Ackerman, to prison for 17 years for something he didn't do, Jesus. And then, let me jump ahead for a second. The Texas Rangers get involved in this many years later. I'm telling the Rangers this. They said, wait a minute, man. They said, because I didn't know about all these other deputies that got locked up at this point. He said, this Texas Ranger got involved in this. He said, you and Ackerman had constant personal problems with this sergeant. I said, yeah. He goes, and you and Ackerman wound up going to prison. I said, yeah. And he said, and John Denholm was the lead investigator on both y'all's cases. No one y'all had issues. Yeah. He said, this has raised no red flags to anybody. And I said, Val, was this the first time? I said, Val, I've been hollering for 25 years, man. At that point, 25 years. Nobody's listening, man. He's like, he goes, what did Denholm testify against you in trial? I said, he never did. He never testified against me. Well, why? Even though he's the lead investigator, which raised red flags. Yeah. The lead investigator always is the one who testifies. So we would have come out the animosity toward us if he'd have testified. And he said, Ranger said, who from homicide testified against you? Nobody. I was cleared by homicide. He said, who from internal affairs testified against you? Nobody. I was cleared by internal affairs. And Ranger goes, how in the fuck did you get convicted twice and wind up in prison? I said, man, fighting a corrupt system. Piss poor lawyer and fighting a corrupt system, All
right, so the indictment comes down. Walk me through the first trial.
Yeah, there's a bunch of crazy stuff with that. The prosecutor was Ed Porter, was the main one. And his DA investigator, Steve Clapper, and John Denholm, the homicide guy. But breaking in my house, stalking my wife. They went out to our family's farm.
Breaking into your house.
This prosecutor, Ed Porter, we can't find him. There's no record of this guy being
Ed
dead.
Porter, prior to this arrest, you didn't know him from a hole.
Never seen him.
Why is he breaking into your house and harassing you?
This guy, Ed Porter, back then they called it the Public Integrity Unit.
Yeah.
They investigated police shootings. As a matter of fact, this morning I got a lengthy text I was told you about earlier from a prosecutor that worked with Ed Porter, and this prosecutor sat through my trial.
Yeah.
And he told me these emails about that was Porter's goal. He hated police officers for whatever reason.
Oh, really?
And his job, he worked himself into being the investigator over police shootings. That's what he did.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he just had a thing for cops.
A thing for my wife. Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, because my wife and kids, my kids are little then. They're grown. I have grandkids now, but my kids are like in second, third, and fourth grade, something like that.
Yeah.
Man, they go to my kid. We had them in private school. They would go to the private school, and the school calls, hey, they're trying to talk to your kids, just keep them out of there.
At that second and fourth grade?
Yeah, we'd be at a
it's like a baby.
We'd be at a restaurant, like Bennigan's, where they used to have. And the DA and that investigator, they'd be sitting there waving at us, taking pictures, stalked us all over. It got so out of control. They had my brake lines were cut, some shots at the house, tires cut. My wife was managing a restaurant, and that prosecutor, Ed Porter, she'd go to that restaurant all the time, and you sit there and chain smoke and drink whiskey and stay there. And we were in our 20s at this point. He was like late 50s, 6'2", patchy beard, bulgy eyes, patchy hair. I mean, he wasn't like a stud,
It just seems crazy that a prosecutor would be harassing a suspect.
Oh, yeah. That's what happens with that. It got so out of control. I'm trying to think what year this was in. Shooting's in 92. It was after my trial in 94, which was a joke. It got so out of control that the judge called my attorney and told my attorney to call me and come into his office. And the judge said, and I had a really good judge. He was a World War II POW veteran. And I was like his last case, I think, old guy. And he said many times, he said, there is no, if the law let me keep you out of prison, there's no way I'm sending you to prison. He knew I was getting fucked.
Yeah.
And actually, not to get into all that, but he did something during the trial which caused the appeal to win. We don't want to, there's other elements we could have got, but it was so flagrant what he did to help us.
Yeah.
Yeah. The judge calls us in. He said, hey, look, I heard what's going on because I have concern for you and your wife's safety. He said, I have grave concern over the safety of your children. And he said, do you have any family out of state? I have a lot. My whole mom's from here, Nashville.
This is crazy.
Yeah,
the judge is telling
this is all well. This is all well documented. Yeah, yeah. The judge told me. He said, Judge A.D. Azios was his name, and he said, "Do you have family out of state you can go to?" Because I was on. This is after my first trial. He said this appeal could take a year or two. It took 9.5 years. I was out on appeal for 9.5 years. But
wait a minute, on appeal. So you're appealing. You were convicted.
Yeah, my first trial was convicted in '94.
So what happened in that trial? Like,
yeah,
you get.
I had my union lawyers. They were really good guys, man. But they were prior prosecutors. They're just lied to, outgunned, and they're good dudes. One of them, Clint Greenwood, was a lawyer. My union lawyer that actually made the shooting scene. One always comes. Actually, you don't talk to anybody. Your union lawyer gets there. Yeah. That's just everybody. And he got assassinated on April 3rd, 2017. Clint got assassinated by some nut. And I just found out at that point that for 25 years, just in Texas Rangers, some other people involved at this point, I just found out about a week before that for 25 years I get choked up, man. For 25 years that he had been working on my case. Because he was also a police officer. He would go in these agencies, would hire him with rank to clean out corruption, you know?
Yeah.
And another investigator slipped and told me about a week before he got assassinated. They said, hey, we don't want you to know, but for 25 years, he's been working on your case, man. You know? And then April 3rd is my birthday. I just found this out, man. And I called my wife on my birthday. And she thought I was kidding, you know? I called her and I said, because I was watching the news. I was in prison, of course.
Yeah.
And I watched the early morning news, and especially they said about an officer getting shot or something.
Yeah.
Catch my attention. And it said an officer had been shot in Houston. So I started watching the news, and then they said it was a chief deputy. That's a high rank to get shot. And then like an hour later, they said his name, you know. I was like, fuck. Man, I called Michelle, ex-wife, and she said, nah. I said, I'm telling you, man, it's right now. And she looked it up and she goes, oh my God, it's over the internet, you know. I just found out for 25 years she had never given up on me.
Jeez. It's wild.
Anyway, I go to trial. It was a joke. It was ridiculous.
Did you take the stand?
Yeah, I testified. My first trial. Yeah. And it turned into a shouting match with that prosecutor makes. He's lying his ass off, making up crazy shit. But make long story short, I got found guilty, and I got found guilty.
When they come in and say guilty, like what happens? Do you just
Well, at this point, they came in and said guilty. Let alone, I hear my mother start crying and my dad, you know, and I was just like, fuck, man. And then the DA, they wanted $1 million bond for me to come back the next day. This on a Thursday. And the judge said, that's ridiculous. He said, Mr. McGowen, you'll be back tomorrow at 9. I said, yes, sir. All right, so I went home. And in the state of Texas back then, if you got 15 years or less, you could stay out on appellate bond, even on a first-degree murder.
That's crazy.
Yeah, well, it saved me from going to jail for 10 years. But, so I go in there the next day. We're standing there, and jury came in. You can
stay out of jail if you get convicted on a first-degree murder.
I got 15 years. If I got 15 years in a day, I'd have gone straight to prison.
Oh, my God.
Which, if I'd have gone to prison back then, I'd have done 2 or 3 years.
Who decided the sentence?
Jury. In Texas,
jury decides the sentence?
Yeah, in Texas, it's a twofold trial. You have, on the guilt and innocent phase, you can have either the judge or the jury do either one. It's up to y'all.
Yeah.
But we should stay with the judge. But
definitely.
Definitely. But jury found me guilty. Then had the punishment phase. And then they came back in like 4 hours, whatever it was, and gave me 15 years.
So first they tell you guilty, and you're like, oh, my God, I'm fucked. And now you got to wait there for 4 hours till they decide.
Then the next day, I had to go home and spend the night. I had to go home and spend the night.
Did you want to run?
Back. The second trial, yeah.
No, the first trial.
No, I should have. But I tell you, I've been asked this a few times. Let me tell everybody out there, if you're innocent and you're charged with a crime, run, flee, leave the country. You can fight your case from Belize, Zimbabwe, China, Uzbekistan or somewhere. When you get stuck in prison, you're screwed, man.
Yeah.
Because everything's you're just a crazy line guy. You're trying to get out, say anything you can to get out of prison, nobody listens. I mean, you said nobody listens. We'll get into prison in a minute. But you're fucked.
Oh,
you can't fight your case there because the prison, good luck getting, let alone mail to your family. Legal mail, which under Wolf versus McDonald's is a federal law. And you have legal mail, which is your lawyers, whatever. And like law enforcement, whatever. You have special mail like a senator or whoever. They have media mail. They can't open it or coming in and out. But in prison, and what's just smart about the mail, because when my mail's getting tampered when I first got in there. So my dad went to the U.S. Postal Inspector and filed a report. And in prison, the Postal Service looks at it like this. When they drop off that mail bag at the gate of a prison, it's delivered to that address.
Yeah.
You know, it's up to the prison guards to hand it out.
Yeah, of course.
And same thing with outgoing mail. You know, whatever's in that bag, when the Postal Service takes it, then it's postal. Yeah. Well, the guards say, fuck it. Throw away shit. They started doing my legal mail. Federal judge got involved. It was crazy.
Holy cow. Yeah. But I'm just thinking, if you're convicted, you're a cop, you've just been convicted of murder. I'm like, well, I don't need to wait to see how much time I get. This is my last chance. I'm never going to be free again.
Yeah, I was going to run at my second trial.
Not only that, you're a cop going to jail. Like, this is not going to end well.
That was unpleasant for sure.
All right, so
but I get the 15 years, and so we're all like, all right, because I knew
great, because now I can get
going home.
So how much do you have to put up?
$10,000
cash.
Well, yeah, there's a bond, so it cost me $1,000 to stay out.
Oh, okay. So you don't get the 1,000 back. A bail bondsman puts up to 10 G's, and you have to pay 10%.
Right, 10%. Yeah.
And you don't get that back. That's the fee for the bail. But the bail bondsman puts up to 10 G's.
Correct.
Okay.
If you run away, they're out.
They're out for the money.
Yeah, I wasn't going anywhere then because I knew I was innocent.
Okay.
I should have run. My second trial, I almost ran.
All right. So you get the appeal. What happens in the appeal? Like, you get a new lawyer. Tell me about the lawyer.
Yeah, and actually the judge calls me up there, you know, because he was a good judge, man. He called me up there, my lawyers, and he said, hey, you need to go get a good appellate lawyer and take this up on appeal. And I don't know why I said this. I asked the judge, I said, who do you recommend? He goes, I can't, ethically, I can't tell you, but your lawyers know who to call. This is on a Friday. We went out, called Max Secrets. George McCall Secrets, my appellate lawyer. This guy was a genius. He's literally like some kind of legal prodigy guy. When I'd see his writs compared to the states, it was a PhD versus kindergartners. And we won 4 out of 4 appeals. It took 9.5 years before I went to trial.
Wait a minute, you won 4 out of 4 appeals? Okay.
When I got my first appeal, you file with the Court of Appeals. In Houston, there's 2. There's a first and 14th. It took 3 years almost to the day. It was on my birthday. I got a call at 7 o'clock in the morning, laying there, and the fourth kid wasn't born by then. My wife was on my birthday. I call, and it's Max. It's Stephanie was Max Secrets, my appellate attorney's secretary, and I'd been waiting for 3 years for this answer, right? And so she calls me at 7 in the morning on my birthday. Hey, Kent, this is Stephanie. Hey, yeah. I knew it was going to be I'm going to prison or not.
Yeah.
And she goes, well, Mac, what's to hold on? I was like, okay, hold on. Well, she puts on like 5 minutes, right?
No way.
Yeah, my wife's asleep. Mac picks up the phone. He goes, hey, you there? Yeah, I was like, yeah. He goes, man, fucking kicked their ass, man. They overturned it. It's all right.
Oh, so they overturned the conviction?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, well, I thought it was over.
Okay, yeah.
And so he goes, hey, can you come in my office tomorrow? You know, what we're going to do? It's all right, you know. I didn't know what we're going to do. So the next morning.
By the way, how much is this appeal costing you?
A lot. But this guy.
Drained all your money, I assume.
Yeah, in the long run.
Okay.
You know, seven figures.
Okay.
At least. Not just through that appeals, but all of it. But we go in there, and he said, well, the state's going to appeal it. And I said, what do you mean they're going to appeal the appeal? I don't know anything about the appellate.
Yeah.
I know criminal law, nothing about the appellate stuff. And now I do. But then in the state, you lose the Court of Appeals in whatever district, like in Houston. And then it's a PDR, Petition for Discretionary Review. That goes to the Court of Criminal Appeals in Austin. That's the highest criminal appellate court.
Yep.
The Supreme Court in Texas is civil.
Yeah.
And so they appealed it to that. That took like 3 years. Another 3 years. We win that.
But so you're thinking at this point, like, oh, this is all bullshit. I'm definitely getting out of here.
Yeah, I didn't know they could appeal these appeals.
Okay, so go ahead.
We win the second one.
Yep.
They appeal it. They appeal the second one to a third, back down to the Court of Appeals. On what's called they changed state and federal all over this.
This is what I mean. Like,
a harmless
I feel
error
like
analysis.
I'm missing something. Like, why do they want Kent McGowen so bad for killing this woman?
It was just that idiot sergeant fired these guys up.
Okay.
But let me talk about the appeals, and we'll get back on that.
But it's out of the police department's hand now. It's the prosecutor.
Well, yeah. I tell people, everybody's fucking cops, this and that. Let me tell you, man, It's not the policeman. It's not the deputy. It's not the trooper out there that's
what I
fucking
mean.
you. It's these prosecutors.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
You got a blue-collar guy out there, policeman, making whatever. He goes out there and puts, takes bad guys off the streets. It's not up to them to fuck you or not.
No, I know.
Their job is to take you to jail.
But that's what I'm trying to understand is why the prosecutor wants you so bad. And now at this point, you've probably have multiple prosecutors that have come through that office.
A bunch. Well, because of John Denholm, that homicide sergeant.
Yeah.
His buddy was Steve Clapper, a DA investigator.
Okay.
They got this whole range so they could all be together on this thing.
Okay.
And Ed Porter was the prosecutor on this case.
Okay.
And it was like, man, doing all these appeals. Let me go finish the appeals. So I appealed a third time on what's called a harmless error analysis.
Yep.
That's what the state's saying, yeah, we fucked up, but it wasn't so bad when it changed the jury's findings, right? Well, we win that. That's another. Then it drags out again for a fourth time they appeal it. This is their last shot. They appeal it to what they call a hearing en banc. That's when all 11 judges on the court hear it.
Yep.
And they all ruled in my favor again.
11-0.
Yeah. And the DA's officer, we're not going to try him. So they go, right when we do it, we know they're going to retry me. So we're prepared. But
you're probably thinking, I won all these appeals. I'm smashing them this time because now I got a great lawyer.
No. Oh, yeah, the appellate lawyer, yes.
But why can't the appellate lawyer be a lawyer for the new trial? Is it that?
Big mistake of my life. But
is it that the appellate lawyer can't be the trial lawyer for the?
He can.
Okay.
I should have kept George McCall Seekers back.
I know. Are you a maniac? You won 4 times with this guy and you decide let me roll the dice and get a new lawyer?
Yeah, well, I had a very wealthy uncle. Well, let me do this. Let me jump back to we're talking about what happened during the appeals with the DA, and then we'll get to the appeal. My next, because that makes trials won't let me go into prison.
Yeah.
Well, same about that DA stalking my wife. Judge Azios calls and he said, I have concerns about your wife. I have grave concern of your children. Y'all somewhere to go out of state. Yeah. So my wife and I decided to go to Montana, where we were stationed when I was in the Air Force. Loved it up there.
Yeah.
So take my kids over to my parents. They're going to babysit them. We drove all the way to Montana. We're going like 10 days.
Yeah.
It's a long way from Houston to northern Montana. We get up there, find a place to stay or whatever. We're headed back. We stopped at a little hotel in, I think it was Butte, Montana. And we're going to get up like 4 a.m. and start headed back. So I go to grab pizza or hamburgers or whatever. I come back to the hotel. The hotel door is kicked open. And Michelle's on the bed, soaking wet with nothing on but a towel wrapped around her. But when I first pulled up to the hotel, I see 3 I think it was Medicine Bow County SO units, sheriff, pulling out. And that's weird. Well, I thought somebody broke in and raped her. She's completely hysterical, right? So I get her calmed down after 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes. And she said that they came in and kicked in the door and had her down. She was in the shower. They pulled her in the shower, no clothes on. And,
what?
Yeah, and she was like 27, 28 at this point.
Oh, my God, this is insanity.
Well, Ed Porter, the prosecutor, and Clapper and Denholm, it's not like we're hiding out. My bail bondsman lived across the street from me. I fished with him. The judge told us to go.
Yeah.
Well, they had the bad guys, I'll say, Clapper, Denholm, and Porter. They had an illegal trap and trace, or a bug on my sister-in-law's phone in Houston, my wife's sister. My wife calls her, say, hey, we're at this hotel in Butte, whatever, and we're headed back tomorrow, whatever. Well, these jerk-offs down there, big city prosecutors, they call the sheriff's department up in Montana, a bunch of redneck deputies. Hey, I've got a convicted murderer up there. He's kidnapped his wife.
But even if they're not redneck deputies, if you're in Butte, Montana, and the Houston police calls, the prosecutor calls and says, hey, I got a convicted murderer on the run.
I was not convicted. You're not convicted of anything.
Well, my point is, if Houston prosecutor calls and says that, you're probably going to take it.
I understand why he did it, yeah. They get this call, and he told them that I kidnapped my wife and drove her all the way to Montana to murder and bury in the mountains, right? So she's so upset. So I can't drive back to Texas with her. I call my lawyers. They're all pissed off and very irate over this. And so I put her on the plane, and she flies to Houston, gets off the plane. My mom and my sister were there to meet her. And that prosecutor and Clapper and Denholm were there. All the 3 guys
at the airport?
At the airport. And we don't even know I still don't know how they found out she was on that plane. They told her that she has to go with them. They bring her, and she didn't know. They go, She goes down, they're showing her autopsy pictures and all this and all that, and this is he's a murderer. This is what he does. He's a killer of women. He's gonna do this to you. And she's like, what? They just kept trying to turn her. They threatened to put my mom in jail if she wouldn't talk, all kind of crazy stuff. But then one other incident, I couldn't get a job. I had 6 jobs. They kept firing me because prosecutors would call whatever company. I'm a pretty sharp guy. I can talk more.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good job.
Yeah.
I kept getting fired. And if one of them, the last guy I worked for, Rufus Duncan, I actually wound up in a prison named after him many years later.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, he gave me $40,000 to go away because the DA's office is calling down there and I was making a mistake. I said, this is illegal. Hey, we don't want anything to do with this. So he gave me $40,000 to,
Wow.
Anyway. Yeah, but I was in Birmingham, Alabama on business. It was like a week or two before Christmas when it gets dark early.
Yeah.
My wife that's when we only had 3 children at this point. Took our 3 children to her sister's house for their cousin's birthday, a few blocks down. And Michelle came back, got out of her car, and walked in. Right, she shut the doors and knocked on the door. She said he had been hiding in the bushes right there. I told her, lock the door and look at the people. When she opens the door, it's Ed Porter, the prosecutor.
What?
At my house. Old raggedy truck, she said he had parked across the street, blue jeans, T-shirt. He wasn't like a big, handsome dude. He was a scrougy old.
Yeah.
And he was like this hermit guy. Nobody liked him in the DA's office. Everybody hated him what he did. He pushes her aside and goes, spends 2 hours in there with my wife, telling her all kind of crazy shit that I was planning on murdering her and all this stuff, was just crazy shit. He had this thing for her. Then he tells my wife that he can make arrangements for me to be in jail at Christmas. He can make arrangements for me to be in jail so he can spend Christmas with my wife and my kids, right?
What?
I'm in Birmingham, Alabama. I called home at 9 o'clock at night. I called her that night. She's hysterical. He was in the house. I'm like, what are you talking about? Man, that point, my lawyer's Dick DeGuerin for a while in Houston. Man, I called, he's all pissed off. What? So I'm trying to haul ass back, have her in the office, And then that was crazy, man. So we got him because Porter told my wife, he said that he'd been living with a woman and she'd recently left him, and that he had a 17-year-old daughter who had recently died. There's no way we didn't know that.
Yeah.
And he said that he's going to have to spend Christmas alone with his mom, but he can make arrangements for me to be in jail so he can go spend Christmas with my wife and kids.
This is completely insane.
All this is documented. This thing is so crazy. Like, it's like trying to tell someone it's like in prison. They're like, there's no fucking way. Until it happens to you, this stuff happens.
Yes. Okay. So for the trial, you don't use the appeals judge the lawyer that you've been using. You go with a new guy. Who?
Correct. Okay. Good question. That one is. Here we go. I had a very wealthy uncle, and he called me in one day after my appeals were over. He said, look, I'm gonna cut the check. This is destroying the entire family.
Yeah.
I'll cut the check, go talk to the top 5 lawyers in the state, which are all in Houston. Narrow down to 3. We'll go meet with them and we'll decide on a lawyer. First one I went to was Max Secrets, my appellate lawyer that I had this whole time. And he said, I've had your case for more than 9 years. And he'd always do this. He had a big, like a barn door table. And he said, look, all the Brady violations that we have and whatnot, he said, I can't tell you we're not going to go to trial, but the chances are very slim. But he said how much it's going to be, and he said it's going to run $1 million and probably more, and you're going to have to pay it. Well, he always won. You couldn't really argue with him. Yeah. So Uncle kind of balked, at the price.
Oh.
So we go talk to the other lawyers, and it was like all the big guys in Houston. And then Cogdell, the one who wound up hiring. Biggest mistake of my entire life. Hands down, biggest mistake of my entire life. And matter of fact, like I said earlier, he's trying to beat me to all these podcasts. Yeah. We've given him all the bad guys I've mentioned: Clappert, Denholm, Porter, this lawyer, a lot of other people. We've reached out to him. And the writer of the book, Jerry Langton's reached out to him. What's your side of the story? They all knew what they did.
Yeah.
Fucking destroyed my whole family.
Yeah, of course.
They know what they know what they've done. So they know it's criminal.
So when you meet with Cogdell, how much does he want?
We're going to meet with Cogdell I went in this building, which he told me that was his office, which I found out later it wasn't. We found out that he hadn't even practiced law in a year. That he'd knocked up some dancer chick and had a kid. This is what he told me. And later he said that he paid that girl $1 million for the kid, who's his grown son now. And he hadn't practiced law in a year. And so I was like, this big case is going to get him going. When I first went in there with Dan, I met with Dan, Alan Goodling, this attorney who worked for him, and it was 2 female paralegals or something like that. I don't remember. He gave me this big spiel. We got this, don't worry about it, we got this done. And then he said, well, tell your uncle to come in. So we went a few days later. Now he's in this whole other building, which he told us he owned this whole building, which he didn't. He was borrowing that from another lawyer. And he said, well, how much are these big guys? And they said, well, just $200,000. He goes, I'll do it for $200,000. So my uncle writes him a check for $200,000. He calls me about a week later, Cogdell. He said, "I need you to come to the office." I don't know, what is it? So I go down there. He goes, "I need another 100,000." I said, "For what?" He said, "We're going to hire these expert witnesses." But which he never hired any of them. When I hired Cogdell, this would fire me up, man.
It's insanity.
When I hired this Cogdell guy, I didn't know him. I seen him around the courthouse. Big, brash, loud, arrogant, man.
Cowboy hat?
Yeah.
Boots?
No, my appellate lawyer did. One of my appellate lawyers. He was a Marine Corps general. After Cogdell gets me sent to prison. When I hired Cogdell, man, he told me, he goes, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday's McGowen day from 3 to 5. And Ed, we never once did that. He was friends with Johnny Carrabba's Restaurants, and his uncle Namia Mendola. And Lyle loved it. And all we do to go to Carrabba's Restaurants, and they would smoke, he had his own table, and nobody was allowed to ever sit there except for Cogdell. And they would smoke cigars and drink bourbon or scotch or whatever. That's all we did. And one day we went early one day, because every day I'd be coming in, I'd get a call on my beep. I finally got one of those Nokia phones, the first ones. His secretary would call me. I lived like an hour and a half from his office.
Yeah.
I'd be coming down, and the secretary would reach out to me. She said, "Hey, he's not able to meet in the office. Give me Carrabba's." So then one day he wants me there early. So I get there like at 1 or whatever. And his meeting in his office. So we go to Carrabba's. It's Dan and Alan Goodling, his other attorney, who we've talked to, and he has a lot of stuff to say coming forward. But we go to Carrabba's, they do their thing. We're coming back, and we literally pull in this gravel parking lot with a trailer in it. And I don't know about that. In Texas, we call them Jack Shacks, the little Oriental massage parlor things. We pull in there, and they're starting to get out. And I said, "What are we doing, man?" He goes, "Let's go in there." I said, "For what?" He goes, "We're going here and get a hand job." I think they're kidding at first, right?
This fucking child.
Yeah, I think he's kidding at first, right? And I said, "What?" And he goes, "Yeah, we do this every day after lunch."
Every day?
Yeah, and I'm starting thinking,
how old is the guy?
Late 40s, 50 maybe at the time.
Big fat guy?
He is now, yeah. He did get very big and fat. Well, my family's money. He's lost a bunch of weight now. We'll get to...
All right, go ahead.
Yeah, he's a crux in this mess. So we actually go to his office like a couple weeks later. And I remember he looks at me and goes, I said, what are we going to do here? We never talked about anything. About him, his money, that was it.
Oh, my God.
And he goes, after it was a few weeks into this, he goes, here's what we're going to do, man. He goes, we go in there and we have voir dire. Actually, you picked the jury. He goes, we're going to have voir dire. He said, I'm going to try to get as many good-looking white women on the jury as I can. He said, don't like smile at them or stare at them, but just kind of make eye contact with these women. And I was like, is this guy shitting me or what?
Brother, I like fucking alarm bells going off for you. This is the guy's strategy for a murder trial?
And then he tells me this. He said, hey, this is how, he goes, I win trials all the time. During trial, I get one, these women will call me, they'll reach out to me, If I go out with them or sleep with them, then I get a not guilty vote. And I said, this is your fucking trial strategy? This is my defense?
He's going to like a Don Juan DeMarco, the fucking jury?
Yeah, that was it. That was his...
I would have been fucking preparing myself for prison.
Yeah. Yeah, and then we started his problems. I had him for 11 months. And then there were three other very high-profile cases he had. He was defending these mobsters, drug cartels from Colombia, all kind of crazy stuff. And he wound up eventually representing Ken Paxton, the Attorney General of Texas, for all his shenanigans. Yeah,
he must not have been paying attention to like the guy's track record. Yeah, was the guy winning cases ever?
Cogdell?
Yeah,
as he does here and there. But he must. He was one of the branch. I think 4 of my lawyers are actually the ones that went onto the branch on the Waco, the Branch Davidians. Yeah. And actually, when Clapper and Denholm and Porter went to my family's ranch right after the Branch Davidian thing, they trespassed when we weren't there, videotaped it. They called my attorneys laughing, saying they couldn't wait for the shootout at the McGowen compound. These guys are something else.
Oh, my God. All right, so get to the trial.
Yeah, anyway, I hired Cogdell, and nothing was happening. 11 days. My trial's going to be, his strategy was to make googly eyes at the females. And then he got my case started on. It was going to be the Wednesday before Thanksgiving of 2001. He said, "What we're going to do is I'm going to get it settled on the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, and then we're going to subpoena Ed Porter, the main prosecutor, because he came to the scene of the shooting. So technically, he's a witness.
Yeah,
he can't be a prosecutor and a witness. He said they'll have to do a directed verdict of not guilty. They won't be able to try because they won't be ready. I'm like, this is your secondary trial strategy."
Wait a minute. Say that again. He's going to start it on the day before Thanksgiving.
The Wednesday before Thanksgiving of 21.
Right. Thanksgiving is Thursday, so he's going to start the day before when most people don't go to work.
Yeah, he did what he did. Yeah, and he got it on Wednesday. It was going to start. And now what's he going to do? We're going to come in, get ready for trial, and then he was going to call
Porter.
Send a subpoena Porter as a witness. So they would really have nobody knowing what was going on that side, supposedly. So that's going to be the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, right? Yeah. So family flies in. Everybody, well, I'm getting to just get this fucking thing over with, man.
Yeah.
I don't care. Let's go to trial.
Yeah.
It's been 10 years.
Yeah.
You know?
Are they trying to offer you plea bargains at this point?
Yeah, they offered at the second trial. Porter called Cogdell and told him he would allow me to plead out for 20 years.
All right, so fucking no.
Well, here's exactly what I told Cogdell. I said, you know what? You can call Porter. Tell him I said, go fuck himself.
Yeah.
Tell him I'm not pleading guilty to Class C misdemeanor littering, leaving the brass from the shots I fired laying on the floor. You know
exactly.
He goes, yeah, so that's
20
exactly
years.
what I told him. So anyway, they Cogdell's doing nothing. 11 days prior. Well, we're going to start on that Wednesday before Thanksgiving. Yeah. Like 2 days before that, family and everybody came in. Dan has it set off until March. All my family, we're ready to go. In a couple of days before trial, I had whatever we call to get a set off, whatever, postpone or whatever until March. I was like,
oh my God! So now you got to sweat it out through the holidays into March, all winter. Okay.
Yeah. And so what happens with him is nothing. 11 days prior to trial, he's not doing anything. So I was out hunting one day, and I sent a letter, and he got it while I was out hunting. And then I had the Nokia phone.
Yeah.
I wasn't answering his phone. He kept calling me. I was all duck hunting somewhere. And finally, his investigator called me. He said, hey, Dan's got that letter. He's pissed. I'm going to fuck, man. I'm going to go to prison. I sent Dan a letter saying you're not doing shit. You better take care of this.
Yeah.
That was like in November when he got put off from Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So in November. All right, I'm on this. So we get scheduled for like the middle of March.
Okay.
And 11 days prior to trial, I get a call by Jeff Becker, Dan's private investigator.
Yeah.
My kids are at school. Michelle and I, our wife, are sitting there talking about it. Phone rings. Talking about me going to prison. Phone rings. It's Jeff. He goes, hey, man, I need to talk to you. Can you meet me at Cadillac Bar? It's like a yuppie thing toward downtown. I said, yeah. I hung up the phone. That was tone. I told Michelle, I said, I'm fucked. I'm going to prison, man. She goes, well, what'd he say? He wants to talk.
And who's Jeff?
Jeff Becker was Dan Cogdell, my lawyer's investigator.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I know there's a lot of people involved.
All right, go ahead.
There's a lot more, and we can even begin to get into
here. All right. So go ahead.
So anyway, I go down to Cadillac Bar, and I meet with Jeff. We have a couple of cheeseburgers, a couple of Lone Stars, maybe a couple of Marlboros. And Jeff looks at me and goes, you're fucked. You're going to prison. I just told Michelle those exact words. What is Dan doing? He goes, he's doing nothing. Then Jeff starts telling me that Dan owed Jeff $136,000 for all his investigative stuff.
Yeah.
He done on my case, which Dan never looked at a piece of paper.
And the way that they did it, they had you pay up front the $200 from your uncle.
Then there was another
$100. So he's got $300 in cash.
Yeah, there was a lot.
You're on the hook for this.
Yeah, there was a lot more after that. I think it was closer to 5.
Because he really can't stop it if he's like, I need more.
Well, it's 11 days prior to trial. What am I going to do? And by this time, I have a different judge.
Oh no!
This judge we have now she's on the Court of Criminal Appeals in Austin. She was evil. And we'll get to this in a minute. This judge sent at least 2 other deputies and me to prison, the same judge. We'll get to that here in a second.
All right, so
let's get to this trial.
So you get to trial.
Get to trial with Cogdell. Well, I asked Jeff, when Jeff and I met 11 days before trial, and he's telling me this, I talked to these other 3 high-profile people in me, and I said, I told Jeff, I said, look, man, just the 4 of us, not even talking about the drug cartels and the mafia people, I said, the 4 of us gave Dan $11 million in legal fees in 11 months, and you're telling me he's done nothing. What did he do with $11 million?
Yeah.
Jeff looks at me and goes, I'll tell you. Jeff said he spent it on, he snorted up, he snorted up his nose and blew it on hookers.
Holy
I said,
cow.
man, that's a lot of dope on hookers. And he said, well, that's the ones that Dan hangs out with, and he does a lot of dope. So I'm pissed, man. So I storm out of the restaurant, go in the office, smash the doors in on Dan. We have words. And I told Dan, I grabbed my lapel. Let me tell you something, man. If I go to prison, if I make it through and get out, I'm coming for you. Legally speaking, nothing untoward. I said there'll be repercussions.
This is your lawyer 11 days before
11 days before trial.
Murder trial, and you're telling him basically like I'm going to get you.
So clearly I shook him up because we found out there's like 211 witnesses in all this. He spoke to 1 witness. That was Michael Schaefer, my idiot informant. He spoke to him on Sunday night at a public restaurant, a busy restaurant, for less than an hour. The Sunday night before my trial started Monday.
Oh, my God. And this is years after the incident.
Nearly 10, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So
and
go to trial. What happens?
We go to trial. He gave me 2 legal pads and about 3 or 4 Post-it note pads. He didn't know who the people were. I'm literally writing. He told me to do this.
Yeah.
He said, write down who they are and what the questions. So I'm writing down who the witnesses are on the stand, what questions for my lawyer to ask. You know, he's so freaking blasted on cocaine. He didn't know where he is half the time.
Come on.
Yeah, no.
He's high in the trial.
Yeah, yeah. This is well-known fact with this guy. We go. He didn't know who the witnesses were to trial. Then a few days into it, a week, about 5 or 6 days, Morong and Malloy, the 2 deputies that were with me, they show up. He told me don't talk to any witnesses, which whatever. Morong and Malloy get off the elevator. Of course, I'm going to say something to him. Hey,
yeah,
because I knew, man. I hadn't talked to them all those times. I was told not to, but I knew what they were helping me. You know, hey, I appreciate it, guys. You know, yeah, all right, man. You know, they're in uniform, and I said, y'all ready to go? And they look at each other and said, we don't know. So what do you mean I'm ready to go? So we never even talked to your lawyer. And Cogdell's standing right there. So I grabbed Cogdell, pushed him around the corner, and said, what the fuck? You never talked to the 2 deputies that are standing there and a witness? They were standing where this happened and saw it, you know?
And what did he say?
Well, no, I didn't need to. I had their office reports. I said, it was 10 years ago, man. So anyway, it was just ridiculous. Aggravated perjury, people lying. The DAs, remember I told you there was 2 DAs that night when I got the warrant,
yeah.
The one that got off midnight and then Jim Mount. They were pointing fingers at each other for fucking up the warrant. It was just ridiculous. And then, and we had a federal trial in the middle of all this, which we won eventually. That's what we don't get into that. That was a comedic show.
Federal trial?
Yeah, civil suit. They try to sue everybody.
Okay, okay.
But in Texas, you have, they put a location chief, the state, and you do, then you argue and all this for several days. And then when both sides, both sides come to rest, if you will, then each side gets closing arguments.
Yeah.
And then the defense goes first, and then the prosecution gets to come up behind you and say you're a big liar.
Yeah.
So
it's strange that the prosecutor gets to go last. Usually the onus is on them to prove you guilty. I would think you'd get the final word for the defense.
Brother.
All right.
But we go, it was like 2 days before the closing arguments. We all went to eat, my family. You know. My brother was retired as a police officer, impeccable, sterling career.
Yeah.
We're walking about 20 feet from the rest of my family. We're walking by the parking lot. I see my truck, right? And I stopped and looked, and he knew. He's like, just don't even think about it. I should have hauled ass. I absolutely should have hauled ass. 4 hours from Mexico.
Yeah.
I could have been a Belize. I could have hauled ass.
In hindsight.
I tell everybody run.
Yeah.
There's no shame in running. Absolutely no shame in running. If you're innocent, it's easier to find it from somewhere else.
Yeah. All right. So go ahead. You get in and they come in. The jury comes back. What happens?
Yeah. We come back. Then like a day or 2 later, we're doing closing arguments. Dan says, hey, I need you and Jeff, his investigator. I said, y'all need to go to my townhouse. He had a townhouse near downtown. So I'm in the front passenger side of Dan's truck and Jeff's behind Dan. We at the townhouse, we start to get out. And Dan goes, hey, no, wait here, man. I'll be back in a minute. So I'm like, motherfucker. So Dan's going into his house and Jeff, the investigator, taps him on the shoulder. And he tapped me on the shoulder and he goes, you know what he's doing, right? I said, he's fucking coking up. He goes, that's exactly what he's fucking doing. My lawyer comes out of his townhouse literally with cocaine on his nose like you see in the Al Pacino movie.
Yeah.
I say, hey, you need to get that shit off your nose, man. So then we go do closing arguments. Takes off his coat. He's pouring sweat, screaming, hollering, running back and forth. Everybody's just like looking at it. Everybody knew. There's an agency now that's assisting me in all this. And when I contacted them, never thought they'd help me. They said, we know what happened to you, man. We're on a government, a government agency that could take care of this for me. But I talked to the chief down there, and I was telling him, look, he goes, man, I've known that fucking Cogdell for 30 years. He said, he's still a fucking cokehead.
He's still around?
Yeah. I'm not pitching this guy or helping him.
Yeah.
If you want to get sick to your stomach, look at his Instagram page. He has like millions of viewers.
How do you spell his name?
Cogdell. Cogdell. Dan Lamar Cogdell. Yeah. And you know what?
Dell.
You know what I'd say, whichever the camera is.
I should have.
Sue me, dude. You want to bring all this stuff out, and where I know. Yeah, okay, let's continue on to this.
All right, so
anyway, we go to trial. He's blowing on coke. They come in, they give me 20 years. He's arguing with the judge. They knew each other personally, despised each other. They come in and find me guilty on a Thursday. The judge revoked my bond. No, it was on a Friday.
How come you didn't get a bond for the? Oh, because you got 20 instead of 15.
Yeah, well, this law changed. I never got bond now. That law after the 15-year, like about 3 or 4 years after that, they changed that law.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Doesn't really make much sense.
I was on appellate bond anybody ever. I guess probably still. I don't know back then. But anyway, they Dan's hauling drugs. The jury goes out and they come back and they give me 20. They come back and found me guilty, right?
Yeah.
So my mom wailing, my dad.
This is the second time you've been found guilty.
Yeah.
So you're like getting used to like being a punching bag at this point.
But I've been fighting these fuckers every day.
I know.
Every day I've been fighting this. I tell you, I work on this every day for 34 years. I worry about it all night. I get no sleep, nothing. It's killing me. So anyway, the judge. This is on Friday. The judge puts me in, sends me to county jail where I knew everybody in there. My cousin worked there. I trained all these people. Yeah. You know, so, but I go in there and I come back Monday for the punishment phase, and I'm like, man, it's fucking. You know.
So you're probably like zero sleep, right? You're just sitting in that cell waiting for this. What are they going to give me? You got to be assuming they're giving you the worst.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of no sleep, that whole 10 years I was out, anytime in between trials, anytime my beeper went off or I finally got a Nokia phone that came out, or there was a knock at the door, the phone rang, because then I had teenagers and we had a much younger daughter. In 10 years, you have teenagers, your phone, you have kids. It rings all the time. Well, I don't know about now. Course. But, back in the day when you had phones. For 10 years, man, every time there was a knock at the door, my beeper went off, the landline, the home phone rang. I could be going to jail for 15 years.
Yeah.
And it took a toll on me.
Oh, I'm sure it did. Yeah. So you spend the weekend in county jail. You go back on Monday, and they bang you with 20.
Yeah, Roger that. I go in to get 20, hear my mom sobbing and all this, and then when I was leaving, my brother, the bailiffs all knew me, so they let me hug my family goodbye. My brother had his Glock, I patted it. And then they pretty much sent me right to jail. Right to prison. Because I knew everybody in jail. Yeah. They didn't want me in there.
Right.
And then,
so where they send you first?
Well, I went to jail for just a day or two in the county because they didn't want me in there. Right. It was a high profile deal, and
especially after you've been convicted, they send you right to the joint, right?
Most people sit there for 6 months in county jail,
waiting to be processed.
Yeah, I sent me to the Bird Unit in Huntsville to get processed, and I knew nothing about prison, man.
Yeah.
And people ask me, what's the most prison movie? Shawshank Redemption. If you take Shawshank Redemption and make it 115 degrees in there, that's the closest to real. Well, you worked in a prison.
Yeah, but it was nothing like Shawshank. I tell people all the time, if you think that the guards would be in there roughhousing the inmates, they would stab you in a heartbeat. There was no. I think Texas might have been a little different, but where I was, the guards were not abusing inmates. Like the guards were abusing each other. They were vicious to each other. They were just like what your department sounded like. Yeah. They were cliques, and I've had much more problems with the other guards than the inmates. To me, the inmates were like, I treat them with respect. They treat me with respect. I always used to say, it's enough for you to know that I'm going to do what I have to do. Don't do shit in front of me. I was driving one time, inmates to like a work release. And, some of them went to school with me. Like, you know how it is. You're kind of clowny. I guess Texas might be a little different. I was like, I don't want to say friendly with them, but we were like cordial to each other. So they were doing something, and I said, guys, they were joking about doing some kind of crime. I go, I'm telling you right now, I'm a rat. I'm telling on everyone, do not involve me. And they were laughing, but I was like, let's cut the shit. Like, they were clowning, but guys, I'm a stool pigeon. Don't do anything in front of me. I don't want to be involved. But they would laugh about it. And for the most part, I got along with everyone. But, if the inmates had a problem with me, a guy punched me in the face one time. Another guy smashed me on top of the head with something. It was a scary place.
Texas.
But it wasn't Shawshank fucking banging on the bars with the stick. They take your stick and stick it up your ass.
Well, Texas, what the guards do, they would send the gang members after you. That's what they do because they're all in cahoots.
Yes, the guards would if they knew like a sexual predator was coming in, the guards would be just as bad as the inmates or a policeman if they wanted them. But if it was like a policeman that they wanted to protect, they would protect him. But typically not. So with that being said, what happens when you get there?
Yeah, when I got to Berto's night. And there was a big old captain came down and he said, look, man, this is kind of a weird deal. We're going to try to keep an eye on you, whatever. I had a 20-year sentence. I did 19 years, 4 months, and 4 days. And then they
got their money's worth out of you.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you exactly why I stayed in there. I mean, same thing got me jammed up. But that's the only time they ever put me in. They have what's called safekeeping. That's not PC, but it's like I'll put you with this. I was at the Bird unit where they do intake.
Yeah.
I think it was built in 1871, something like that. And it was in March, so it wasn't too hot or not too cold. March and October are the only two decent weather. It's usually roasting your ass off or freezing to death in Texas.
Okay.
Mostly roasting. But they bring me in there, and they put me on the safekeeping floor, and I was the only white guy and clearly the only heterosexual guy and clearly the only guy with an IQ over 70 and the only sane guy in there.
Yeah.
So we would go up these old raggedy-ass steel steps, and it was all these black guys. And back then, the Bosch's used to have flies in the front of them.
Yeah.
But they don't. They changed. See after I got after. But anyway, they all had their boxers on backwards. They're all bent over. Hey, and I was like,
oh my God.
I thought that's what I was going for 20 years. I had no idea. I knew nothing about the penal system. I don't ever think about it now.
When you were on trial, though, when you knew that this might be a possibility, you didn't start like asking questions like, hey, what do I need to know about prison?
No, I should have. Because I didn't know any convicts. I don't know any bad guys.
So
I don't know nothing about policemen.
Right.
No one in my family's
so
ever had
you
a
walk
ticket,
in
man.
and it's like, you're like, oh my God.
I'm like, fuck this, man.
Yeah.
That's exactly. I was like, fuck this. I thought I was going for 20 years.
Yeah.
And the cells are 7 foot by 4 foot, and there's nothing in there but 2 bunks.
Yep.
And then a toilet, which is the toilet and the sink is this one.
Yeah.
One
Stainless
thing.
steel.
That's the only thing that's in there.
Yeah.
I remember I was in like 5 days. I didn't sleep in 5 days. And then these guards come and get me. You have to go they take you to do like your IQ test, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And all your medical and all psychological and all stuff. And then they take me to Sociology 1 and 2. Sociology 1 was asking about your family, where they work or live. I wouldn't tell them shit about my family.
Yeah.
I wouldn't tell them anything.
Yeah.
So I lied to them, told them all kind of crazy stuff. So anyway, they come in with Sociology 2, and that's when they discussed your case. I remember going in there, and this lady, in her 40 or whatever, and she had 4 thick 3-ring binders around her desk with some smaller ones on the side. I walk in there, and she said, "You McGowen?" I said, "Oh." And she said, "Have a seat." I said, "I'd rather stand." I was pissed. That word doesn't do justice to what I was angry, man.
I get that, but didn't you kind of think like, let me be strategic. This woman has nothing to do with it. Let me at least try to like make nice here and like.
Well, yeah, but I get in there and she told me to sit down. I said no, and she said, "Let me tell you something, Gowan. I'll never forget this woman. This was 20-some years ago." She said, "I've been doing this 14 years. She said, this is the biggest crock of shit I've ever seen." She goes, "You had a valid warrant. You had deputies there you didn't know the witnessed it. This, and this." So I was like, wow. And I was shocked me,
Yeah.
And so she starts reading stuff out of his books, and she said, "Tell me you got somebody to help you get out of here." And the next day I had a lawyer show up. But, she starts reading. I said, what is that you're reading? She goes, "This is your case file." I said, "From where?" She goes, "From the DA's office." I said, "Harris County DA's office?" She said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, that's pretty much what happened." I said, "That's not what they're saying in trial." So my lawyers fought for years trying to get those files. TDC kept telling them, "Oh, they're in a warehouse here. They're being archived, or they're at his unit."
But isn't it illegal to keep the discovery from the defendant?
Hell yeah, it's illegal. They all do it. Trust me.
All right, so go ahead. So the woman's telling you
if you
should.
get a speeding ticket, they're going to hide something from you, man.
All right, so the woman's telling you got railroaded.
Yeah.
Then what happens?
Well, the next morning, some guards come and get me. They said, "You have a lawyer visit." I went in there, and it was Jack Zimmerman. And then he was a colonel, full-bird colonel in the Marine Corps. Also was on the Branch Davidian Waco thing. And I never talked about it, but I knew who he was. I mean, he always was a cowboy. Had huge, high-profile cases. His daughter, she's a Marine Corps colonel. She's also a lawyer. They're top lawyers. And then they had another one, Jim Levine was with them at the time. But Jack Zimmerman comes by himself. And he said, "I have 2 questions for you. Why didn't you hire me first instead of Cogdell?" And I was like, that made me feel bad,
Yeah.
And he goes, "My next question is this: what happened?" And I talked for like 2.5 hours nonstop, which I can easily do. And this is before 20 years of prison, just this stuff going Cogdell. And I remember him looking at me. He said, "Let me tell you something, Kent." He said, if I sat here and you told me this about any other lawyer," he said, "I'd get up and walk out and have nothing to do with you, because I don't want to try to help you and then not go your way and you say crazy stuff about me too." He goes, "I've known Dan, I think 25 years at that point." He goes, "I've known Dan 25 years. I know what you're saying is true, and I'm going to help you." And man, he did. He tried.
Why did he want to help you? Was he getting paid? Did you pay him or?
Well, yeah, I had to pay him, yeah. But they're just great people, man. These are by-the-book lawyers. He and his daughter.
They just saw an injustice and were like, all right, let's try and fix this.
Yeah, I mean, they had paid to do it, but they stepped up. Family money.
Okay.
God, I didn't have any money.
Yeah.
But
thank God for the family.
Yeah. So hired him, and those appeals took a few years. We lost twice. And you're just fighting. You're fighting a system. There's people. I've had people ask me. They said, "Man, for them to do this, it take a vast conspiracy." No, not at all, dude. If you have somebody within your agency or at the DA's office that want to fuck you, they're going to do it. They have access. They have access to witnesses, evidence. They tamper with, fabricate, destroy evidence. You know, there's suborn, aggravated jury. Aggravated perjury. Threaten witnesses, withhold witnesses, suppress evidence. They do all that.
But the thing I don't understand is, like, who is going to risk getting caught doing all those things for
There's
what?
no accountability, just to fuck people. Well,
I know, but like, how bad do they hate you?
Well, it wasn't just me. There's a bunch of us out there that's happened to. Prosecutors are lawyers. Lawyers care about two things. 99 point. There's that 1%, like the Zimmermans and Greenwood, Bink, and those guys. Max Secrets. Lawyers care about two things. It's their money and their ego, and they go hand in hand. You know, they don't give a shit. Very few examples like these good guys I had. Cogdell didn't give a shit about me. He couldn't give a shit about me. I had a writ lawyer who's friends with Cogdell. I have a writ lawyer. I don't want to say his name because I want to jam him up because he's tried to help. But he told me, he goes, "I just don't like you because you're a policeman. I'm only cops."
Yeah.
You know? And I'm like, okay. You know? So I hired the Zimmermans. Those appeals fell through. And then
hold on, back to the prison. So after you meet with the woman and you get processed, where's your first stop? Where do you go to serve your first stretch?
Well, I was at Bird, and then they sent me to Goree, which is not far down there. But then they sent me right back to Bird because the sheriff's department came to get me on a bench warrant. And I thought, now where they fucking me? They're trying to jam me up with some more charges.
Bench warrants?
They had to bring me back to court again. I'd been in prison like 6 or 7 days.
Okay.
So they bring me, and it was just to sign a document for my attorney. So it's not a big deal.
Whatever.
But but those two deputies knew me, and it was kind of funny. They're all like being mean to me, and they're going to shackle me, whatever. So we drive around the corner. Hey, get out, man! Take everything, all the shackles off. And they said, "What more do you need? Fucking Whataburger." You know.
This is what, after you've been convicted?
Yeah, I was in prison like 5, 6, 7 days.
But you've been convicted and sentenced.
Yeah.
And they took your shackles off while you were out and about and got
I knew these guys. They were friends of mine.
I know, but...
Well, we didn't go in and eat. We went to the drive-thru.
No, but I'm saying, like, even if you and I are friends and you've been convicted, I'm like, well, I know if I had been convicted and was facing 20 years and someone took the cuffs off of me, I'm going to run.
Well, they knew me.
All right.
So I have short legs. They could outrun me. They could shoot me. I don't run as fast as a bullet.
All right. So
but actually, when I got out, the first place I ate was Whataburger.
Where did you go for your first real stretch?
Well, I went back to Goree unit, and this is a funny story. Goree's, I think it's the only unit in Texas got men and women on it.
What?
Yeah, they put me on the women's floor. I was like,
jackpot.
Yeah, and like the hallways going like this. I was in the first cell on the left, which kind of sucked because I could see out the window the highway, and that was the exit race to get off with my boys on a duck hunt.
Oh.
Yeah, so I had to watch that. But the guard's kind of a funny dude, and he opens up. It's a solid steel door, and a gap at the top and the bottom.
Yeah.
And he opens the door, and he's a little tiny small cell, and there's no air conditioning. By this time, it was getting hot. It was probably like May or something. I don't know what it was, but anyway, there's a big white guy laying on the top on the bottom bunk, and he was facing the wall asleep. Right. This guard opens the door, and he goes, "Hey, man," he said, "This is a pretty good cell. It's pretty cool." And I said, "What do you mean?" And he said, "This is where you put like famous inmates." I said, "What are you talking about, man?" And he said, "Well, they're putting you in here," but he said they've had some of their high-profile people. For whatever male and female, they put them here. And then he said, what was her name? Hang on a second. That went right off the top of my head. She was a woman in Houston. It'll catch me in a second. I remember. She was a female in Houston. Her and her boyfriend went and met a guy in a hotel on a dope deal. Carla Faye Tucker. Mm-hmm. And went in there doing dope, one thing going after another. And she winds up killing this guy. And every time she stuck him with a pickaxe, she would have an orgasm. This murder, yeah. So anyway, they put her on death row. And her appellate lawyer is actually Max Secret's my appellate lawyer. But the guy told me, he said, yeah, they kept Carla Faye Tucker in this cell until they executed her. And I said, yeah. And he said, man, you know all that? Because she was like, on these churches got involved. And that guard goes, let me tell you something, man. He said, that bitch was crazy, man. They used to have those 976 numbers, those sex lines, like back in the 80s, whatever, 90s. But they have there's no phones in that cell, but if you're on death row, you have to use a phone like whenever. So she had this, I don't know where she got, probably a guard, these phone cards. He said they had to leave that pay phone, a phone on that little roller thing. He said all that woman would do, man, was she would get on the phone and do these sex lines and masturbate 24 hours a day, and she'd call the guards over to watch her, and he's telling me this crazy story. Like, I was like, well, whatever, man.
Yeah.
And the guy on the bunk never moved the whole time, right? So I throw whatever gear I had, jumped up on the bunk, and the guy goes, hey, man. He goes, what's going on? I said, nothing. He goes, huh. He said, he was about to get out. He was like waiting, like get out in like 3 days or whatever. He goes, hey, man, you believe in prayer? I said, well, yeah, why? And he goes, I think we should pray. And he was listening to this conversation with this guard and me, right? He goes, I think we should pray. And I said, what are you going to pray about? And he goes, I think we should pray that, because this is after they executed Carla Faye Tucker. He goes, I think we should pray that Carla Faye Tucker's spirit comes and visits us in here tonight. And I don't know about that, man. But, man, I went to unit. And I was, after my trial, I was under court of law. I got 20 years. So I would come up for parole in 5 years. And after I got found guilty, Dan Cogdell, he had a big press conference lined up. He thought he was going to win. He's the only one he thought he was going to win, apparently. His arrogance. He hauls ass out the judge's chambers and leaves my family to walk out there to the media. Well, his law partner at the time, Alan Goodling, who was actually a good guy, Alan went there and talked to the jury. And he said, how did you find him guilty? Because the jurors, they can talk to they don't have to, but they can talk to everybody after the trial. And Alan Goodling went there and said, how did you find him guilty? And they said, we don't even know what happened. He said, what do you mean you don't happen? I said, well, for the first part of the trial, we thought that these three guys, Moran, Malloy, and me, that these three guys just went in his house and broke in and shot some housewife in the bed. We didn't know they were cops the first week of the trial. And Alan goes, did you find him guilty of that? And then why did you give him 20 years? They said, we didn't give him 20 years. And Alan said, no, I was in there a while ago. I saw you give him 20 years. And they said, no, we only gave him 5 years. He said, no, you gave him 20. And they said, well, the prosecutors, illegally, went there and told the jurors that because who my family was and my being a police officer, that I'd have it easy in prison, which is no. Well, no. It made it exponentially more dangerous and difficult.
How would anyone believe that cockamamie story that people think a cop would have it easy in prison?
We have it worse. I don't know about other states, man. In Texas, they threw me in the mix.
You weren't in protective custody?
Never.
It's funny. Greg Kelly said he wasn't in protective custody either. And I said to him in the interview, I go, you're innocent. Mm-hmm. We all know you're innocent now. But when you get convicted, you're a sexual predator of children. Like, no one gives a shit about your claim of innocence. How did you not go to protective? He's like, no, I didn't. I went right in. I was in general population the whole time. Yeah,
there's a website, and I don't know this guy, so I'm not pitching for him. It's called TDCJ Troll, TROLO. Every day in Texas, they're killing child molesters in prison.
Yeah, for sure.
I can assume who's having it done. Every day, it's people, they're dying of K2 and child molesters. It's not like all these child molesters are actually having heart attacks and whatnot.
No, of course.
Every day, they're whacking them in there. I can imagine who probably is doing it. But they, he threw me in the mix. But
so what happened when you got there? Are the other inmates like, yo, we got a cop in here. We got a white cop.
The first place they sent me was to Price Daniels out in Northwest Texas. And because I went to several different units. And when you go to a unit in Texas, you go to UCC, Unit Classification Committee. Yep. It's like a warden and a major and classification chief or whatever. They said, well, this is going to be your job, which I refused to work on. I wasn't slaving for those assholes.
Oh, really? You didn't want, but a job can get you out of your cell, get you just keep you busy.
There's other ways about that, man.
Okay.
I figured out that system real quick.
Okay. I
had a bottom bunk restriction. Everybody in there's retarded. It's easy to get stuff done. True. I never broke the rules. That's really pissed them off. Well, I started getting into it with them. But I went up at the Price Daniel unit. The first guy they put me in a cell with was a Hispanic guy, and he was in there for stabbing a Lubbock police officer 17 times.
Okay.
The guy didn't know who I was.
Yeah.
He's a big old Hispanic guy. He cried all the time. He'd show me newspaper clippings about him, all this. And he was a psycho. And there was a real good, I wish I'd remember her name. There was a sergeant, this was in 2002, beginning with spring of 2002. There was a sergeant there named Arrow. I remember his name. And then there was a female captain. I don't remember her name. She was really nice. But I'd go to her, And she goes, yeah, you're probably not supposed to be in the cell with that guy. So she put me in the cell with this little crazy guy. He looked like he was out of the jungle of Amazon. You know how little gang members have their straight haircut?
Yeah.
Right? Before that was in style. I mean, he looked like something off a movie from the Amazon. He was just a nut. And so they had to drug him, literally, to take him out of there. He was so crazy.
Oh, my God.
So the captain, she calls me down there. I said, do you like have a burglar, an auto thief? I mean,
and these guys,
some normal
the guys
guy.
are being relatively cordial to you?
No, this captain was.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, it got worse as the years went on.
Yeah.
But she put me in a sales guy named Juan Flores. I'll never forget this guy, man. I got choked up talking about this guy. He was a Hispanic guy. He owned a bunch of restaurants in San Antonio. He had two sisters that were lawyers. This guy was so courteous. He was in there for DWI. And he was supposed to have been out like 30 days prior to this, but how Texas, they screwed up his paperwork, right? And all Juan talked about was his mother was 96 years old. And all he wanted to see his mother before she died. He wanted to see her one time before she died. And he wouldn't even, if I'm in a cell with him, he wouldn't even pee in the cell. I said, dude, we're like 12 hours in here. That's crazy. Well, I just don't feel right. Dude, I don't care. I've only been in prison 6 months, whatever. You got to pee, man.
Wait a minute, they got a guy on a DWI conviction in a cell with a murderer.
Yeah. This is Texas. They don't care.
This is fucking insane.
In Texas, they're not supposed to put you in a cell with someone. They have to be within 10 years your age and within like 70 pounds. They don't care. They tried to have me killed a bunch of times in there. I put in a cell this guy, right? And he worked, I think he worked in the laundry from like midnight to 5 or something like that.
Okay.
He'd go eat breakfast at 5 whenever. And he came in one night, and I was in a cell with him like maybe a couple of months, something like that. He came in the cell one day, and he was on the bottom bunk, and I was on the top bunk. And then he came in like at 5:30 in the morning. So I get down, and I was making a ramen noodle soup. I'll never eat ramen noodles again.
Yeah.
I didn't go down to the grocery store with ramen noodles.
I'm sure.
Since I got out. That's a staple and everything. He's on his bunk, and he said, hey, Ken, he goes, man, I could use the bathroom real bad. And I said, man, dude, do your thing, man. Because in prison, it's customary. You just jump up on your bunk, face the wall, whatever.
Yeah.
And some guys, you can tie they'll make a string out of something. Like throw a blanket.
It's like common courtesy.
Just common courtesy. But I could tell he had diarrhea, right? Well, I didn't realize he's in the throes of a heart attack. And so
that's like a symptom too.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I didn't know what I do now.
Yeah.
But he just was, he just didn't look well.
Yeah. Like gray, right?
Yeah. And so he sits on his bunk, and I had my back to him. I was making a little ramen noodle thing. And he said something bizarre. I don't remember what it was, but I looked at him. I literally saw the color of his ears change. And he just looked at me. He just DRT, dead right there. Like, here's your bunk, and there's like a table welded to the wall,
Yep.
gap up this far.
Yeah.
He fell head first in that gap on his knees, with his hands behind his back. And I immediately grabbed him, and laid him out on the floor. Man, it pisses me off. This set my tone with these prison people.
Yeah, I'm sure.
There's emergency buttons on the door. They don't answer them. They don't care. I'm hitting the emergency button. I'm giving them CPR. And by now,
And you're yelling for help, I assume, right?
yeah. This was in September, so it's like 115 degrees. Plus, I was in the upstairs, right? I'm on a concrete. I still have these. My knees are still bad from that.
Really?
Yeah, I was for more than an hour using that guy's CPR. I'm giving the guy CPR. I'm getting up, and I never talked to any inmates. I didn't talk to inmates. When I went to prison, I'd watch, and I could always pick out a policeman or a veteran. That's the way they carry themselves. I'd be there a couple of weeks, and I'd make connection. But I'm hitting the emergency button, bam, 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 bam. I'm kicking on the door, right? And this was 2 runs, and like the day room's in the middle. I was up here. I was at L213. I remember the book number.
Yeah.
Well, it's like a quiet time between like 5 and 6. The night shift gets off like at 5, and then people come in for breakfast, and everybody gets around 6 to start. So you have that quiet hour, basically 5 to 6. Bam, 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 kicking the steel door. And then hitting the emergency button. I'd go back working on him. I never knew that dude wore dentures until when he vomited in my mouth, the dentures came out. Because he never even took his dentures out in front of me.
Yeah.
Decent guy.
Yeah.
Most decent guy I've met in all the people, shitheads I met in there. But I'm just, bam, then the inmates start paying attention, I hollered out there, I said, Flores has had a heart attack. Well, he's dead. I need help in here. Inmates are. You worked in a prison.
Yeah.
They all go crazy, all screaming and hollering. And then, about, 10, 15 minutes into this, the door opens. There's this little tiny old white lady female guard. 5'2", 100 pounds. And she didn't say a word to me. Man, I got vomit. Now he's defecated and urinated.
Yeah.
Got vomit all over me. She almost sort of stares at me, And her eyes were this big. I said, "Do you know CPR?" And she nodded. I knew she wasn't. She wasn't. I mean, I already had this. I was going to give mouth to mouth, not her.
Yeah.
Later on, I'd have made her do it.
Yeah.
After I'd learned what prison guards are about in Texas. But I said, "Do compressions." And he was he was like 6 foot, 200. He was a pretty good size.
Oh, so he's a big guy.
Yeah, and she wasn't physically large enough. So I shoved her, go get help. So I guess she runs down, and they get on the radio, and then this is shift change. They change shifts at 6, right? And so all these guards, day shifts coming in, night shifts going, so they're always piling up into there. I'll never forget that. I think there was 14 people, and this was the big cell. They're like 10 by 8 or something like that.
Okay, whatever.
We're all piled in this cell, and it's like 115 degrees in there. I'm in there giving CPR, and I'm hard to guard. You're going to have to help, It's like another 15 minutes, like 30 minutes into this, that captain, the cool captain, comes up there. And they had 2 nurses finally come up there. And one of them had nothing but a blood pressure cuff. The warden's name was Wilhelmina Howard. And since I said this on other podcasts, I've had other people, I remember that bitch, man. Inmates, saying stuff about her. She was a medical doctor. Why she went from being a medical doctor to a prison guard? Probably wasn't a very good doctor, honestly. But anyway, she's on the radio, and she's hollering at Captain standing there. And Wilhelmina Howard's on the radio. She's hauling us to get to the unit. And she goes, "Is he dead yet?" There's all these guards on radio, so all the inmates hear this, right? Mm. And all these inmates are hollering, "Help him, help him." They're all going crazy. They don't like this old guy. Yeah.
They don't like Flores?
No, they like Flores.
They all liked him.
Yeah, because he would help them out.
Oh, he was a nice guy, right?
He was a nice guy. So the warden says, "Is he alive? Is he dead yet?"
Yeah.
All the inmates hear it. The captain's like looking at me, and I was like, "I don't know, And she goes, "I don't think so." And she said, "Do whatever you have to do to keep him going. Don't let him die. I don't want to have to deal with him dying on the property." So now the inmates are all riled up.
Oh my God.
Those 2 nurses come in. One of them starts hollering, "I told that fucking warden we needed a defibrillator. This is the 4th motherfucker in 2 weeks that died up here with a heart attack."
Oh my God.
And the other
Wait a minute,
nurse,
there was no defibrillator on the on the unit?
She wore a blood pressure cuff.
My God.
Well, these are prison nurses, so.
I know, but you know that if you have a defibrillator and someone has a heart attack, the survival rate is astronomically high.
Oh, she was hollering much. I've told this warden,
It's a non-event to have one of those.
Like other nurse, I'll never forget this. That other nurse was holding that guy's hand, one's hand. She was holding that dude's hand, and she was saying, she's out praying for him. She said, I'll never forget this. She said, "God, if there's any reason, let this man live, let him live. He's got a family and all this, And
he's in here on a DWI conviction.
Yeah, because your third one's a felony.
A shitload of them then.
Oh, your third one's a felony in Texas. Okay. Yeah, you DWI in Texas, you go to prison, man, your third one. You hurt somebody, you're doing a life sentence.
Oh, yeah.
You kill somebody, you're done for.
Yeah.
And so, and this is it's like probably 40 minutes into this. That captain goes, "Where's the ambulance?" And nobody called an ambulance.
Oh my!
Nobody called 911. So they're calling 911.
You've gone from the Keystone Cop Police Department to the Keystone Cop Correctional Facility.
And I'm like giving this guy CPR, right? He's defecated. There's and nobody's helping. I kept telling his nurses, 1, 2, 3, stop. That doing CPR means you take over. We don't want to mess up the rhythm. Nobody's helping this guy but me, right? So we're vomiting in my mouth, all this shit. And finally, it was like an hour and 5 minutes, I think.
Oh, my God.
I did CPR in 110 heat at least. All these people, I'm shoving guards in to get away. I couldn't hardly breathe.
Yeah.
On my knees, on that concrete. Oh, man, it just pissed me off.
Yeah, I would imagine.
And then finally, the ambulance gets there. And not one of those broke dig guards, none of them helped. You know what a striker is, the gurney thing, right?
Yeah.
There was a doctor, came from Schneider, a doctor and 2 paramedics. They didn't open the doors for him. They didn't help him maneuver that stuff through the day room, get it up the stairs, nothing. 2 paramedics and a doctor. They get in, they throw him the wand on there. I guess they hit you in the heart with adrenaline or whatever.
Yep.
Man, they're just jamming it. Bam, bam, man, sticking in IVs, all this stuff.
And he still got a pulse.
I don't know if he did or not.
Okay.
I don't know. I wasn't going to stop.
Yeah.
Until somebody got there. And then, anyway, they get him on there and they take him out. And not one guard helps him carry nothing. They don't open the doors, nothing. Just let the doctor, 2 paramedics do all this. And so everybody's like going out. And a captain's, and I'm the only one in the room in the cell at this time. A captain looks at me. Man, I'm pouring sweat. My knees are raw. Man, my hair's sticking out. And she looked at me and she goes, "McGowen, are you okay?" Man, I went off. I said, what the fuck is wrong with you fucking people? You let this man die in my arms. What the fuck is wrong with you people? I went off on her because they did nothing.
How'd they react?
Yeah, and she goes, well, McGowen, you need to come down and give a statement. I said, I'm going to shower and brush my teeth first.
Yeah.
So I went down there. I took a shower, whatever. Forgot my boots, go back up there, and there was an old guard they called Sidewinder. This old crazy white guy's like he had a busted pelvis or something. And 10 years later, I go back to that unit, and that dude was there and remembered this happening. But I went up, I took a shower and brushed my teeth. So I went upstairs and I did my boots, and he's packing all my shit and the dead guy stuff, I said, hey, what the fuck you doing, man? I said, this is a homicide. I'm the dead guy on a murder charge. Yeah. What are you doing, man? This is a homicide scene. It's cleared otherwise. You shut your fucking mouth. So I go down there. Now the warden, the major, captain, they're all down there. And they say, we need a statement. I said, I'm not seeing shit. I said, this is what I got to see. You fucking let that man die in my arms. What the hell's wrong with you people, man? Yeah. Because my lawyers, the Zimmermans, they said, you don't talk to law enforcement, the media, or any prison people.
Yeah.
And so I wouldn't say anything. So they locked me up for 8 hours. They fly some OIG idiot in there. Whole crazy story. He's lying to me, telling me he knew my lawyer, and he called him, whatever. So I wouldn't say shit. So they shipped me from there to a maximum security unit.
Wait a minute. You weren't on a maximum security unit on a 20-year...
minimum
you were on a 20-year
security.
Murder?
No, this is a minimum security unit. Yeah. But I went from there.
That could be why it wasn't that bad initially.
Well, they went from there. I went from there to McConnell unit, which is a maximum security unit. And my mom and dad were here in Nashville, and if you go more than 300 miles, you call the union, you get like a 2-4 hour. You get, instead of 2 hours, you get 4 hours Saturday, 4 hours Sunday.
Yeah.
My parents called the unit where I was, probably staying on. They said, he's not here. We don't know where he is. So that spins my parents into a panic, right? And so they make calls. Well, TDC, the prison system in Texas, didn't know what to do with me. So they sent me to this max unit, put me in solitary confinement. I don't know what the hell's going on.
Yeah.
I know they're going to kill me. They're going to let me go home, or I don't know what. I'm after 11 days, no shower, hardly anything to eat. 11 days of after, and they came in there and they said, hey, they threw some raggedy ass clothes in there. So, hey, you need a shower. You got a visit tomorrow. And then when it was my mom and dad. And
do you spend 11 days in solitary with no shower?
Yeah, no. Oh, it takes some worse ones, what they did. But anyway, I got moved to the PAC unit in Navasota.
What's the PAC unit?
It was a medium. It was like all dorms.
Okay.
But I went to.
Did you like the dorms better or the cells?
Yeah. Oh, the dorms, man.
With the bunk beds? In the open, like an
no,
open...
there weren't bunk beds. You had little cubicles.
But was there a door to your cubicle?
Well, it's just an open door, and you had like a 4-foot, this is what this tall, maybe 4-foot little metal.
Okay, so like everything was kind of cordoned off. But the other inmates, my point is, if other inmates in the dorm wanted to get at you, they have access to you.
Yeah, you're done. Yeah, it was wide open. Yeah.
Okay.
But I bounced around the units. They'd move me at night. They'd move me, it'd be dark. I went on a bus for 4 to 10 hours. If you're on a prison bus, you're on there with guys who've been there 5, 10, 20, 30, 40 years and never been in a vehicle. So you got guys in there getting motion sick, and I was queasy a couple of times. There's puke on the floor. There's a little metal thing that you take a leak or a crap in, whatever. That prison bus is something else.
Yeah, it's horrible.
Hot, no air conditioning in it. They would park and leave you sitting there, and so it'd be 120.
How did you keep going? Like, did you ever consider suicide?
Anger. I've been asked that. I got asked that on live TV in Houston. My first interview was live on Fox News in Houston. And he asked me a question.
Why did they interview you on Fox News?
Because it was the day the book came out. They called me.
Okay.
I know some guys, news guys. Now.
Okay.
But he asked me that on live news. My reason is this: I wouldn't give the bad guys a satisfaction.
Yeah.
These fucking scumbags. What they've done, they're gonna be held accountable. Civilly and criminally. These people go to prison over this.
So what's the status of the...
As far as the suicide thing is that, and I probably would have one condition. If I would have done anything stupid, let alone illegal or criminal, that caused us to do what my family's gone through.
Yeah.
If I had been guilty of this, I couldn't have lived. I couldn't have done. That's what I'm looking for. I could have lived with myself.
Yeah.
If what happened to my family was because I did do something stupid, let alone illegal, I would have probably whacked it and they would have moved on.
How often did you see your kids and your wife and all that?
When I went to the PAC unit, I was there after that craziness. After I was in about 6 months, I got moved. Some calls were made, and that was like 20 minutes from the house.
Okay.
Yeah, from the lake house where my parents lived, and then my wife and kids lived lake house near them. So yeah, I'd visit about every weekend.
Okay, so you would see your children and your wife every weekend.
Yeah. Well, yeah, in different families. My sister made a schedule.
Okay.
My brothers would come this weekend.
Oh, I gotcha. Okay.
Make a schedule. But I was there for 5 years. I laid on a bunk in red and didn't talk to hardly anybody. I ran to another policeman who was set up, 2 other policemen there. But I came up for parole after 5 years. And my appeals are rolling. So my last appeal was being decided. My dad and my brother, a policeman, they came and told me that not only did I get a 2-year set-off on parole, but I lost my last appeal too. So I'm like, fuck. So I said, that's it, man. Because I kept a journal. Everything went on in prison. Man, temperatures, shankings, rapings, murders, everything I saw, witnesses, times, dates, and that came in handy. And then
Why?
When the Texas Rangers and people got involved.
Oh.
And then the FBI and stuff. I'm trying to make this as quick as I can because once I wait 5 years, I see parole, and my parents paid for a parole attorney, which they never do. It's just a big scam.
Yeah.
And then I got a 2-year set off, and when they came and told me that, I said, "That's it, man."
What's a 2-year set off?
Well, in Texas, I was under quarter law. I was under the old law, so I got 20 years, right? So I did 5 years. 5 years. So when I came up, technically he came up 5 years after I got locked up, which would have been March 10th of 2007. That's when your parole date is. They might not see you for 6, 7, 8 months. And then it may take 6, 7, 8 months to get an answer. It might take a year.
Yeah.
And then you get a 2-year set off. That year doesn't count. Mm-hmm. So your 2 years starts when you get your answer. So your 2-year set off is now 3 years because they spent parole, spent a year dicking around. Jeez. Then you get 2-year set off, so you got 3 years. So when I got that first set off, I said, that's it, man. I'm going guns to these prison people. Everything I've seen them do, man. You're gonna jam me up in here in prison for something I didn't do.
Yeah.
And once these fucking idiots, stuff they pulled.
Yeah.
Rapes, murders, the stuff I've seen, prison guards.
Prison guards raping people?
Prison guards.
Oh, my God.
And so my brother said, hey, look, man, he said, give it 2 years. You got 2 years. Sure, you'll get out then. We'll put, we'll send these, books. We'll put money on your commissary. I said, I'm getting this 2 years. Then a situation to run prison with a major and a warden. I went up with a fractured jaw and a dislocated shoulder. Got sent to another unit, and then I just got bounced around.
How'd you get a broken jaw and shoulder?
I'll tell you a 3-hour story in 35 seconds.
Okay.
There was a major he was the assistant warden on the prison unit I was on. There was a money laundering operation going on. So the guy was the next NFL football player.
Yeah.
Now, football player found out who my family was. He tried to drag me into this whole crazy thing. And so I said, call the FBI. I'm going to call the FBI. Not call them, but I worked out to the FBI through some money.
Yeah.
They came in, and then Texas has in their prison system their own police department, their Office of Inspector General, which they're just a bunch of what they're prison guards. They're prison guards, and they go to like little community colleges and get peace officer certification. Yep. And they don't police these are their beer drinking and fishing buddies. Or a prison guard rapes somebody and it gets reported, that's his buddy. He's not going to do anything to him. And if it's something that happens to you, which not that happened, but busted jaw, things like that. Man, like my family and I, we'd go to like, because they build all these prisons out in the middle of nowhere in Texas. So you got a bunch of these little town yahoos out there, right? Well, say the warden of the prison, if something happens, you go to the sheriff. Well, that's the warden's cousin.
Yeah, of course.
So you go to the constable. Well, he's married to the warden's sister. You go to the district attorney. Well, that's his uncle.
Yeah, so the whole thing's
you get freaking
corrupt.
Nowhere, man.
So they gave you a beating.
Yeah, and then you go to like the Texas Rangers, the FBI, Department of Justice. What they knew, hey, this is what's going on. My son's there. This is happening. Well, the Rangers, until they finally did jump in big time, they would call TDC, and TDC would say, well, this they're OIG. Well, that's our purview. That's our scope and purview. What we do, we know that we're investigating. We got this. Don't worry. And they would back these people off. That all kind of crazy shit was going on. Then my family got shook down from. I came up for parole like my 3rd or 4th time, and once I was parole commissioner, Lynn Rizika, and she was probably the only one honest in it. I went and saw her, and I've been in 7 or 9 years. And she told me, she said, look, man, she said, I don't submit to peer or public pressure or political pressure. She said, I let a man out of here who murdered a Texas Ranger. I paid a lot of heat for that. It was the right thing to do at the time. Mm. She goes, but my boss's boss, they submit to political pressure, And she looked at me and I said, what does that mean? She goes, look, if I let you out of here, it's going to be all over the news. if I don't let you out, it's going to be all over the news. I said, well, if we're going to be on the news, let's do the right thing, you know. She said, you're never getting out on parole. So I'm telling you right now, I had like 13 years ago.
Oh, my God.
She goes, you'll never get out on parole. She said, your family's got to figure out something else. They're not going to let you out of here. I got set off after set off. Then one year, a church ministry approached me. That's a crazy story. I don't know if you want to hear it or not. Shut my family down for $300,000.
Oh, my God.
I didn't know what this was going on. And then I was doing what I did all the time. I read thousands and thousands of books. I was locked up. It was a Saturday night, hotter than hell, and 2 guards come and get me. I don't remember what unit I was on. I was in Cuero and Stevenson or somewhere. But these guards, no, I was at, anyway, it doesn't matter what it is. I was at the board unit. These prison guards come and get me like 8 o'clock on a Saturday night and say, hey, you need to go to the gym. I said, what? They're having like a big revival.
Yeah.
You know? And so I go down there, and there are these big old African-American guys, straight up convicts.
Yeah.
But they're free work. I mean, you tell there's convict, big, huge, tatted up gang signs or whatever. And they're up there on this big stage, and behind us is a partition, right? And so one of these big old dudes, and it was like, it was like 200 people piled in this gym. And then these guys on the stage in the civilian clothes, hey, where's the inmate McGowen? Where's inmate McGowen? I was like, what? The guard goes, that's you, isn't it? And I said, yeah. Well, go on. So I'm like going up on stage. So one guy comes and gets me, we go around the back, and there's this little old lady in a wheelchair, this little old African-American lady. Man, she weighed probably 80 pounds.
Yeah.
Old lady. And she's in a wheelchair. And the guy goes, well, this is so-and-so. I don't want to say her name because she wasn't involved in this. She's dead now. And I didn't kill her. I had nothing to do with it. But she takes my hand and she goes, well, Kent McGowen, it's so nice to finally meet you, you know, and do you mind if I pray for you? And I was like, okay. I had no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
She's, bless this man and his innocence, and we free him from the bonds of all this. And she goes, and bless his family and his aunt and uncle so-and-so, and for them financing all this. I'm like, what? And then after we pray, she goes, I just want to thank your aunt and uncle, And I'm like, yeah, I have no idea what you're talking about, but I'm not going to say that, because there's these big old dudes, staring at me. And she said they bought a fleet of cars and paid off our church, and they're funding this in my ministry. And I'm like, what the fuck? And so, all right, so they wheel her up to the front to talk to all the inmates, right? And then these 3 dudes come over and say, hey, man, look, when we get the last check, we got the people to get you, because I was up for parole.
Yeah.
You'll get a yes vote for sure and get you out of here finally. We know the people. I said, all right. So I leave. Texas was the last penal system in the country to not have phones.
Yeah.
Or to get phones 9 years after I was in. So I called my dad and I said, hey, do you know anything about so-and-so family members donating to a church? Yeah. I said, don't say another word. Because he started to say something. Don't say just yes or no. Yeah. I said, you need to come up here. So they came the next weekend and told me about this shakedown, right? They got burned on the shakedown. They didn't get the last money, of course, right? So the parole board member and commissioner, they gave me a 3-year set-off, which they could give me no more than a 2, because I found this weird loophole.
Yeah.
Now they can give you up to 10-year set-off.
Okay.
And this one parole commissioner, I'll say his name, because he's a straight criminal, Elvis Hightower. They gave me a 3-year set-off. So I filed grievances, go over it, and they said it was an administrative error and blamed it on somebody else. They're just trying to jerk me around because they didn't get the money, right? So set off after set off. Finally, and mom and dad were terminally ill by this point. We're jumping all the way to 2013.
Yeah.
I've been locked up 12 years. And mom and dad were terminally ill. All appeals are done. Writ habeas corpus, no good. And I had literally written thousands and thousands of letters. And then finally, I got a prison typewriter, burned up 5 of them. Man, to the Department of Justice, man, Houston PD, Harris County, the DA, the sheriff, Texas Rangers, FBI, federal judges, everybody, And when you're in prison, 90% of your letters are probably never even getting out.
Yeah.
No lawyers, nothing were helping. It was March 13th of 2013. And I got a little typewriter, and I typed a letter to Ray Hunt, the executive director. He's still the executive director of the Houston Police Officers Union. I sent a letter to Ray. It was just a few sentences. The top said a couple of sentences. I went to the academy with his brother, who recently retired with 40 years at Houston PD. And I said, I don't know if you know who I am. I said, I went to the academy with your brother. Your dad been out to my dad's ranch hunting a couple of times. That was my first, my next paragraph. I said, I'm still one of you. I'm still one of the good guys. I'm your brother in blue. I'm in trouble and I need help.
This is after like 13 years?
13 years.
Okay.
I typed that letter, and basically the same thing with Texas Rangers. I said, I'll put on there, I said, I'm still one of you. I'm one of the good guys. I'm your brother in blue. I'm in trouble. I need help. And I sent it out to the nearest Texas Ranger, and I sent one to Ray Hunt. I never met Ray.
Yeah.
But they got him.
Yeah.
They got him.
But at this point, you've done 13 years, and you did a total of 19. So people,
19 and a half.
These fucking letters seem to fall on deaf ears.
Well, the one that went to Ray Hunt, he told me first thing he did is he called his brother. That, because I worked on the streets with him too, at the academy. And he said, then he started calling people I worked for and with the Houston PD, because all that tabloid trash never happened.
Yeah.
If any of that shit that was in the tabloid trash happened, it would have been brought up in trial.
Right.
About knowing that woman, it would have been brought up in trial.
Right.
None of that stuff ever was.
So all these appeals are just falling through. So what happens when you finally, like, you got 19 years, you almost got the whole sentence wrapped up? How do they finally let you out?
Yeah. When Ray Hunt, he got that letter, and then he called my dad. What's going on? Then he started calling people at the DA's office, the sheriff's department I work with. He kept getting the same story. So Ray he calls my dad and said, "Don't tell Kim I'm looking at this." So of course my dad told me that.
Of course.
And so Ray showed up, a week or so later. He said, "What happened, man?" I'm telling him, and then he said, "He goes, I'll be honest with you, Ken." He goes, and I've been told this many times, and he said, "When I got your letter," he goes, "I thought you're full of shit, man." And Ray doesn't cuss. He said, "I started calling these people, again the same story over and over." And he told me later, I think after I got out, that after he came and met me that first time, he walked out there and called Brian Binkin. He was also one of my union lawyers that was partners with my other lawyer, Clique, when he got assassinated. They were buddies, hunting buddies, law partners together. He did. He goes, I walked out there and called Brian, went in my car and called Brian Binkin. So I'm going to give you one name. All I want to hear is guilty or innocent. And Ray called my lawyer, and he said, Joseph Kent McGowen. And he said that that Brian hesitated, and he said, man, got choked up and said, innocent, 100% absolutely innocent. He said, for 25 years, I've lost sleep over every night about what happened to him.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and then a few days later, the Texas Rangers showed up. And then they were there, Rangers, like 4.5 years. If it were not for Ray Hunt, and a guy, I can't mention his name, but he's an elected official in Texas, I would have been murdered in prison, if not worse. Those guys, man, what they did, they went to bat. And I got moved to 20 different units, man. There was multiple times they tried to have me murdered.
They just kept moving you to keep you out of the trouble?
Yeah, because I would go, when you get in with these prison people, they move the inmates and the guards around. If a guard goes crazy and stabs you, they'll take the guard and they'll only tell you, oh, he's in county jail. We're filing, attempted murder, whatever.
Yeah, of course.
Well, you go somewhere 2 years later and there's this jerk off's a lieutenant somewhere. They just move them. They don't do shit.
No, that's very common.
So I started getting into, man, I was suing those prison people, man, federal lawsuits flying, criminal charges back and forth. They're trying to jam me up. The Texas Rangers got all that off of me, got them back off me.
So what happens when you finally get out? Like, what's that day like?
Yeah, I was running out of time. The bad guys,
running out of time. The time was up. You did all your time.
Well, yeah, but from the bad guy standpoint, mainly Steve Clapper and John Denholm, the DA investigator and homicide guy, that set me up. And I found out recently a lot of other people. They were starting to panic because they thought I was never going to make it through there.
Yeah.
Well, my time is ticking. These little fuckers are starting to panic, right? And so I got 9 set-offs from parole. I was eligible for parole for 15 years.
Yeah.
I could have 15 years. I had a year left, and I was sent to some people made some calls, and I got sent to a private unit, not TDC unit.
Yeah.
And I went to a prison entrepreneurship program and wound up running it during COVID for 17 months. But anyway, I come over my last shot of parole. I had like maybe 11 months left.
Yeah.
And in Texas isn't like other states. You're for parole. You don't go before 3, 5, or 7 people and I did it. I'm sorry. Or say, I just didn't do it or whatever. You don't ever see him unless you have a very high profile case. I saw him the first time at Lynn Rizika told me I'm never getting out. The second time I saw him is an Elvis Hightower shook down my family for $300,000.
Yeah.
He came in. I wasn't even in his parole region. He went and got my file. He came from across the state and took my file and comes there and tells me, he goes, I didn't know who he was. I'd never seen him. I was suing him,
Yeah.
But he comes there and he goes, do you know who I am? I said, I don't clue who you are, man. He goes, well, I'm Elvis Hightower. And he goes, it's up to me where you get out of prison right now. At this point, I had like 8 or 9 years left. And he said, good fucking luck, and walks out. Now, 2 hours later, the Texas Rangers come in there. And I told him, I said, wait a minute, man. This guys were investigating that shook down your family for $300,000. he came from a different region. Now he's the one to sign your parole. And I said, yeah. And this major who busted your jaw on his shoulder investigating, he retired from TDC, and he's a parole officer on this unit? And I said, yeah. He said, well, what do you think your chances of parole are? And I said, slim to none. And Slim just rode out of town. He said, no shit, man. But anyway, when I got out, Tracy Long, I'll never forget this woman, man. I'd never seen her. She gave me a 1-year set off the year before, right?
Yeah.
I had like 11 months left. And so because of COVID, they couldn't come in.
Yeah.
But real good major. Like I said, this wasn't TDC. It was a private MTC unit. Major comes against me. He said, hey, parole wants to see you. I was like, all right, man. So I go in his office, and he was a great guy, man. Kenneth, I don't remember his last name. His first name was Kenneth. He puts 2 guards outside the door and said, hey, not for me, but he said, don't let anybody come in with this guy.
Yeah.
He sits me from the computer at his desk. Computer pop. He goes, she'll be up here in a minute. So, all right. Computer pops up. This just looked like, my mom or whatever. Some lady. And she said, she called me Kent.
Yeah.
And she goes, hey, Kent. And I said, hey. And I knew I had a stupid look on my face. She goes, can you hear me? And I said, yes, ma'am. Can you hear me? And she said, yeah. And I said, I don't sound like a techno imbecile. I've never talked to a computer before.
Yeah.
She goes, hey, I guess you haven't. And me right in her mouth, she goes, look, she said, I know what's happened to you in prison. And she goes, I know how you wound up in prison and what happened to you in prison. She said, I cannot in good conscience let you sit here for 20 years. I've been there,
I've been here 19 plus years. What are you talking about?
And she said, I'm going to give you an FI-1 immediate release, no restrictions when you get out. So I did not expect that at all.
Okay.
But
you only have 11 months left. You've already done 19 years. You could stand on your head for another 11 months.
But I told her, I said, thank you, And she said, I'm going to get you out of here immediately. And I said, all right. It still took 86 days, and this is why. Now, this is why it took 86 days. She said, do you know why? She goes, do you know why you've been denied parole for 15 years? 9 times you've been denied parole. And I said, I have my legitimate suspicions. She goes, does the name Steve Clapper and John Denholm ring a bell? Or are they familiar? I said, they're familiar. So did you guys just set me up? She said, they've been calling here for 15 years, telling us that you had contracts to have them killed, and if we ever let you out of here, that you're going to murder them. I said, that would be understandable. I'm not going to do it. She goes, we know. We're going to get you out of here. She goes, I know you're not going to do anything stupid or be any danger. But I was under no restrictions, right? So it's still, they kept fighting it,
Yeah.
So when they come to let me out that day, I didn't know who was picking me up. And in a short time period before I got out, my favorite aunt and uncle, passed away. My mom passed away. My dad and uncle passed away. My dad passed away. My oldest son passed away.
Oh, my God.
And then my brother, whose wife I'd adored since I was like 9 or 10, their junior high school sweethearts passed away. I mean, just right one the other, When you're locked up, you have to put that elsewhere, man.
Yeah.
It'll fucking kill you.
You was married the whole time you were in there?
Yeah.
And your wife was just kept coming every weekend?
Well, yeah, but everybody had their lives,
Yeah.
Anytime you've been there a while, it kind of peers off.
Yeah.
My mom and dad. The last time I saw my mom and dad at fucking Cogdell, my dad put $1 million reward on the internet for anybody could legally get me out.
Yeah.
Hadn't heard a word from Cogdell in 13 years, right?
Yeah.
3 days after that goes out, it was raining. It was I think the 14th of December, and the warden came and got me. He said, "You got a legal visit." I got a legal visit. I go on a Friday. It was on a Thursday.
Yeah.
And I said, "Who is it?" And he goes, "Somebody, Cogdell, something." I said, "Cogdell, Dan Cogdell." And this is a great assistant warden, Donnie Bilnowski. I didn't say his name.
Yeah.
He's one of 3 people: Donnie Bilnowski, Warden Jim Smith, and a sergeant, Melissa Wilson.
Yeah.
They literally saved my life multiple times. Those people.
So what happened with Cogdell?
So I go down there and there's Cogdell. He is famous for one of many things, infamous. He has these cufflinks that are a gold woman's butt on them, right? He has that, and he has a pair of cufflinks that say they're gold with some kind of blue, and it says, "I'm a lawyer," So he comes in with his, $50,000 watch, those cufflinks, and letter portfolio, and his Armani suit order. So what the fuck you doing here, man? He said, "Well, I'm here. I know you're innocent, man. I feel bad about this. I'm here to get your innocent ass out of here. We got invested in these big name investigators," which is all lies.
Yeah.
We've been investigating this for a month. Well, he opens up his letter portfolio, and on top is the printout of that website, with $1 million reward. And he flicks it over and keeps talking. I said, I guess you're here for the money, right? No, hell no. I just, what money? I said, the money my dad put on the internet, Dan. Oh, well, I'm not taking a penny of that. That guy came on Thursday, and I called my mom and dad because nobody knew he was coming. I called my dad, said, "You're not going to believe this. Cogdell showed up." What? Their parents are both terminally ill, about to die. And he said, my mom and dad were so excited that they lived in Liberty Hill, north of Boston, about 3.5 hours from where I was. They had their medical driver, whatever it was, drive them to come see me that weekend. That's how I saw my mom. She died right after that.
Dang. When you get out of prison, where do you go?
Well, I went to that prison entrepreneurship program. They had some transition homes.
Yeah.
When I got out, the lady let me out, said no restrictions at all. Right?
Yeah.
So when I was getting out, parole was there. You sign a piece of paper with her. Well, they gave me an ankle monitor. And I said, hey, I don't care. If you tie me to a tree and throw a Whataburger at me twice a week, get me the hell out of here.
Yeah.
I said, but I don't think they're supposed to do any restrictions. She said, no, they want you on this ankle monitor. And I was like, whatever, I don't care. So I walk out. I had not seen the sun in 17 months because of COVID, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know who's there to pick me up. I go in there and they go, hey, your people bought you some clothes. I was like, what? Man, like these, I'm not a tennis shoe guy, but lace up tennis shoes, a belt, some pair of blue jeans with a fly on them, button up shirt. I was like, what the hell? So I walk out and I knew my mom. I wanted my mom and dad and my son to be there.
Yeah.
That's the three I wanted there.
Yep.
And I said, when that happens, you got to just kind of put it aside. You lose your mind. I mean, you just got to survive for the people that are out there, Yeah. Just kind of walk out, seeing if I see my mom and dad, my son, And like I said, I had not seen the sun in 17 months. I've been outside because of COVID. And it was Ray Hunt, his brother, another HPD officer. And they were in a big HPD Suburban or whatever. But man, I was trying to lose like a little girl.
Yeah.
I was like, don't cry.
Yeah.
Police guys, So I'd given all my stuff away. So I had one little bag with pictures or whatever, man. I walked out to Ray Hunt, man. I freaking lost it. I just dropped what I had.
Yeah.
That Ray Hunt, my dad was dying. My dad had talked to Ray many times over the years, but he had never met him. And that Ray Hunt, on his own dime and his own time, he drove from Houston all the way out, 3.5 hours. And the day before my dad died, because the prison people wouldn't let me go.
Really?
But Ray went out there in my stead, went there and promised my dad. He hugged my dad. My son was there, and he hugged my dad and told him that he was, I'm going to get him out. He did, early. But what kind of person does that, man? He never even met my dad.
Yeah.
And it was like on a weekday or whatever.
Well, it's refreshing to know that someone in law enforcement was doing the right thing down there.
That guy, he literally saved my life. He saved me mentally. He saved me physically. Because I knew he was, even my parents are gone, I always knew, man, when shit was hitting the fan in prison, man, the stuff they pulled on me in there. I always kept in the back of my head, Ray's out there. Yeah. Ray's watching me. Yeah. And then a friend of his who's an unelected official guy. I said, Ray's out there. But yeah, when I got out, then first place we went was to Whataburger, And because I was on this ankle monitor, I was literally under house arrest. I couldn't even step out on the side of the door. Yeah. They had to get permission from parole and the police chief and all this just to go to the drive-thru. I actually have a picture on my phone, me holding up a Whataburger cup. Whataburger is a big thing in Texas. Police,
I guess so. You've mentioned them like fucking 35 times. No charge. I'm going to send them an invoice.
I've eaten there thousands of times. They let police eat there for free, and they're the best hamburgers and french fries. Yeah, but anyway, I got out. I went to a transition home in Harris County in Houston. I didn't last there long. It was like, I said, I'm not living here, dude. Yeah. It wasn't in a good part of town. But
compared to where you were, it was fucking great.
I got out on a Wednesday. I got out on July 14th of 21, and it was on a Wednesday. Well, Thursday I had to go to my parole officer in Houston. Man, I'm like, what in the hell, man? There are people fighting out in the parking lot. It was crazy. I said, fuck this, man. So I go in there, and because I was one what was called SISP, Super Intensive Supervision Program, it's like for mass murders and serial child rapers and stuff. And they had this ankle monitor me on this. And so because of that, I had a supervisor and a regular parole officer. So they're both waiting. They called me in there, right? And they said, man, we've been getting calls from, congressmen and senators, and man, you're going to kill these people, and these people are bound to go to bat for you. We don't know what the hell's going on. And she goes, and all these documentaries. And I said, yeah. I said, yeah, I know there was some film a number of years ago. She goes, no, did you say that guy walked out right in front of you? I said, I didn't pay attention to him. So who the hell's that? It was a producer, wanted to do a documentary. I said, what did y'all tell him? He told me to get the hell out of there, you know. But she told me, she said, look, you're under this SISP because she said, we have people watching us, watching you. God forbid something. We don't think you're going to do anything to anybody.
Yeah.
God forbid something happens to you.
Because the other guys have convinced them that you're going to do something to them.
Well, no, they weren't afraid of me doing something. They're afraid that the bad guys do something to me.
Oh, I got you.
She said, as long as you're under our control, we're going to have to, say something happens to you.
That's all you need to know is that Texas has got you under control. Like, you guys have done enough. Please just stop watching out for me.
Well, I left it there not too long. I transferred to Montgomery County, the next county north. My parole officer there, she was a character, man. She almost got me sent to prison because I overanalyze and research everything. So I researched all the law and being on parole, right? So I know in Texas, which nobody's ever heard of this, I know, you're on parole for 100 days, that they have to give you 8 hours a week. Like, you can divide it up like 2 hours here, whenever. They're trying to acclimate you into society. So you can go eat with your family, whatever. So I went into her office one day on my 100th day, and I walked in there, and she was funny, man. She goes, I said, Miss Mathis, she goes, I know. You've been here 100 days. I know you probably read the law. And I said, yeah, where do you want to go? So I went with my wife and my granddaughter. My son passed away, and he's a single dad. It's with his daughter. It was just like that, a bowling alley and games like pizza, like a big kid's place, indoor thing. My first 100 days out, we went to a steak restaurant. I wanted a steak and a salad and baked potato and tea. And when they just brought the salad, my wife listened, she goes, are you going to cry? And I was like, no. Man, because I hadn't eaten a salad in 20 years.
Oh, I got you.
That was my thing. And that was always my big meal. And how many thousands of days for a freaking salad? But I didn't cry at the restaurant. We were at soccer. She looked at me, she goes, are you going to cry? And I was like, no, don't look at me. But the next 8 hours, I went to that place, that kids park thing, and my phone went off. And I don't know anything. I'd never seen these phones.
Gotcha.
Google, nothing. Yeah. Learned on my own. But I looked at it and it said, I think it said private number or something like that.
Yeah.
To this day, all my friends are policemen.
Yeah.
Almost all of them. So all their numbers come back like that. So it quit ringing. So I stuck it in my pocket and something. Man, I always listen. My mom taught me, always listen. That little voice in the back of your head, always listen to that voice, And some said to put that thing on vibrate. So I'm going to put it on vibrate. So I dropped it in my pocket. 10 seconds later, it goes off again. And I look on it, and it said the same thing. It said like government or state of Texas.
Who was it?
I call it, it's the parole people. She goes, is this Joseph Kimberly-Allen? I said, yes, ma'am. Who's this? She goes, whatever. She goes, I'm with the Board of Pardons and Parole Warrants Division. Where are you?
Yeah.
Because my parole officer, she didn't put it in the computer.
Right.
And it's on the weekend. And she said, if you didn't pick up this phone, our next phone call is the sheriff. They'll come pick you up right where you're standing. She goes, you better get on Miss Mathis when you get out of here. So the next office, I went in there. But anyway, at the end of the thing, I got out. I went and I lived most of my time with an old Vietnam veteran on a farm up in East Texas that I knew, helping him. And then I had a lawyer for 15 months helping me. Then he ran into his own legal issue. Couldn't represent me. But no lawyers will help me. I've called more than 100, every lawyer, and they'll tell you the same thing. Hey, man, we know what happened. We're not getting involved with Cogdell. They're all scared of Cogdell. I'm the only one who's not scared of Cogdell.
And Cogdell's still out there. He's a practicing attorney?
Yeah, he was the attorney for Ken Paxton, the attorney general. And now, of course, he's flipped on him. And
my God.
He's back in, what's that guy's, Tetarino? Or what the guy's running?
Tallarico. Well, I'll tell you what we're going to have to do is bring you back for a part 2 and talk about all the shit that's going on since this with the aftermath of this, because if I didn't talk to you myself, I would think there's no way all this shit happened. That one guy was on the receiving end of all this, like, fucking treachery.
Just in closing, let me just tell this real quick.
Go ahead.
I had an FBI agent who investigated for 3 years. As soon as he finished doing that, Jerry Langton contacted me about the book. It took us 16 months. When that book came out and I started doing podcasts, I've been contacted, I think, by 14 Harris County deputies, the sheriff's department. All set up. Marcus Fleck, he got 10 years in prison for something he didn't do. In prison, going to prison library, gets out. He writes a book about all the stuff I'm telling you about went on the sheriff's department DA's office. Well, that pissed him off. Instead of getting released after he got his case overturned, they come back and indict him for 3 more felonies, give him 3 40-year sentences. He's still in prison. There's a Dennis Coker.
So the FBI is investigating all this?
Well, Dennis Coker, Butch Grable, Mike Johnson. He's got from Harris County.
Jesus.
And there's John Ninemaker out of Medina County, south of San Antonio. Derek Iozio, HPD officer, he got 10 years. And I didn't know. I knew about some of these
we're going to be
people.
here until hell freezes over if you list every single person that's been railroaded by these guys.
I'll end it with this, man. These guys all reached out to me. I knew about a couple.
Yeah.
Well, who set you up? Well, you same judge, all this stuff, man.
It should be easy, like once you have all these people in touch with you to like put all the pieces together, and the FBI's involved.
Well, there's a couple of agencies involved, and I have a lawyer. I Hail Married when this book came out. I knew it was coming out in about a month. No lawyer would touch this case, man.
Yeah.
So I was Hail Married this lawyer. I can't discuss the lawyer at this time, but it's going to drop a nuke right in the middle of this, who this person is.
Oh, good.
But I called this lawyer, and I was talking to her. I can't believe she called me back. And she said, well, why? You've been out 5 years. This is just like in April, you know? And she said, well, why haven't you called? She goes, she knows everybody, you know? And she said, I've talked to probably 100 lawyers in the last 5 years that you've been trying to hire. Why are you calling me from 5 years? Well, 'cause I'm scared of you. Because I've had some issues with this lawyer. But, so she's on the case. But
well, let's go.
But I don't know if I can do. She can edit this out or not. Yeah. But I do have a gift, send, go, and a cash app. These lawyers are not free. They're extremely expensive. And if you want to donate to that, every penny goes right to the attorney.
Yeah, we'll put it all in the show notes. Text me everything, and dude, that is
but with
freaking crazy story.
I said, with all these other people. It wasn't just me. Anybody bucked up to this group in the sheriff's department and their DA buddies. But I would highly suggest you talking to some of these people, man.
Yeah.
It's crazy. That Nunemaker, he's from a whole different county. What happened to him?
Fuck, this is a crazy story. We've heard some crazy stories from Texas inmates.
And when these police officers,
that's for sure.
One thing that police officers, I think you asked me this the other day, that they don't parole us out.
Yeah. No, it's crazy.
This guy named Butch, this other one I mentioned a while ago, man, he did 15 years and 6 months on a 16-year sentence for nothing. Because he had the same judge I did. She got pissed off at him.
Well, listen, brother. We'll put the fundraising links in the show notes. Kent McGowen, that's a hell of a story. Congrats for you for surviving this, and thanks for sharing the story with me, guys. Thanks for being with us. Please like and subscribe and follow Kent on Instagram at Kent McGowen.
Right.
At Kent McGowen.
Well, since I'm not good at the technology, it's my Facebook, I've got Facebook down. Facebook, you can look me up on Facebook. Just put Kent McGowen 25. There's 3 Facebook pages. My dad back in the day tried to do 2 of them. You'll see which one is me.
They'll find you, brother.
You'll see which one is me.
Thanks for being with us, guys. Boom. All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed that conversation as much as I did. Please take a quick minute to subscribe to the podcast wherever you're listening. This is a new show, so subscribing makes a huge difference. Please also take a minute to give it a review and leave a comment on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. You can also subscribe and leave a comment on YouTube. Again, this is really important for us, especially now since we're just getting started. Please also check out all of our sponsors. They make the show possible, and honestly, I love and use every single product we talk about on the show. You can learn more about me, this podcast, and also find links to purchase my upcoming memoir at theothersideofhard.com. My new book is called Everything You Want Is on the Other Side of Hard, and it comes out March 10th, available everywhere you buy books. Or again, go into theothersideofhard.com. There's multiple links there where you can find all the retailers carrying the book. Thanks a lot for being with us, and we'll see you next week.